Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy Deadline stream, this time out of Matchday 6, and it's extremely early. Do not be caught out by the 3:30 p.m. deadline in the UK anyway. So you can see the timer just below my head and above the chat. We have 2 hours remaining until we fully lock in, and there are so many injuries and updates. Is Mbappe going to be available against Man City? He didn't train today alongside Camavinga, and both of them are serious doubts. And I think essentially Camavinga's already been ruled out. So I'll provide all the updates from today and also some press conference snippets from the past couple of days as well, and more team news, injury updates, and giving you the full picture so you can make informed transfer decisions and optimize your UCL fantasy squads. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also hype the video on YouTube. The same goes for sharing, commenting, and also engaging in the live chat. There is a leaderboard actually in every single stream nowadays. And let's hit our super chat goal so we continue the conversation for even longer and talk about other topics as well, not just UCL fantasy beyond the Matchday 6 deadline. But I'll get straight into your comments first. Later on, I'll show you some graphics and talk about the updates that I've seen over the last couple of hours. And Nirsa says, is Mbappe out and Mendes is fit? Well, Mendes is in the squad for Paris Saint-Germain against Athletic Bilbao, so he will be available for selection. Now, is he going to start or not? That's a different question, but normally Nuno Mendes, if he's available, he'll start every game for Paris Saint-Germain. And with Mbappe, he's not officially ruled out, but he's a very serious doubt to face Man City, so there is definitely the case to sell him. And we have seen, him being a doubt before, but this seems like an even bigger one. And this could be make or break for Xabi Alonso, which I discussed in yesterday's team selection. Yeah, all good, drunk baller. Hopefully you are too. That Madrid team is in shambles. They have so many injuries. This is a great opportunity for Man City to win and put themselves in a good position in the Champions League phase. Liverpool could be getting a new manager for Christmas, says Banjo. What do Argentinians do that we UK people don't for Christmas? Well, I think one of the key differences is that Christmas Eve, and the same goes for a lot of Latin people, that is essentially celebrated equally, if not more than Christmas Day itself. So it's all the build up, spending the entire day, and then when it hits midnight, then you open presents. So that will be the main difference, I'd say. But everyone's different, right? I can't generalize every Argentinian or also all Latin American people as well. I'm sure Mbappe will start. Well, I still have an inkling he will, but I am less keen and confident about this Mbappe pick after all the reports that circulated today. Alonso to Liverpool, let's go. I could see that happening for sure. He was asked about it in the press conference and he gave a typical answer. I mean, you wouldn't expect the Real Madrid manager to say anything different, but yeah, that is something that could happen over the next year or two. Josh 10 says, hi Dylan, my team is Kane, Suarez, Mbappe, Elise, Yildiz, McTominay, Kalanoglu, Yamal, Timber, Cucurella, Rice, and Otamendi, Sanchez, Trubin, and Carnesecchi. Are there any essentials for this match day? Who would you transfer? I like Garassi a lot for match day 6. And with the Mbappe news, that could be a possible switch for you. That also allows you to then buy another Barca attacker. You've already got Yamal in the midfield, but you might be able to do something like Kalanoglu up to Rafinha, and that could work very well for you using 2 free transfers. You've also not got Dumfries and Gabriel, which is good. I think your goalkeepers are not great this week, I'll put it that way. Carnesecchi is the highest scoring goalkeeper in UCL Fantasy though, and I don't mind keeping him for the remainder of the league phase. But yeah, those 2 transfers would stand out to me, but ultimately, you might have a different opinion. You might think Mbappe's definitely going to start and you don't want to sell him, and that would make things a little bit more complicated in terms of identifying the transfer you have to make or that you should make. For example, with Suarez, I'm not a big fan of him, but at a similar price point, the best option is Burkhardt, and he's a serious doubt to play for Frankfurt. He might even be injured, and he won't play match day 6. So yeah, definitely a lot of decisions to make, but Mbappe could be the key here. I was thinking Suarez definitely out, and maybe for Alvarez, still open to suggestions on strikers. Yeah, if you've got enough money to do Suarez to Alvarez, I'd 100% go for something like that. Even Osimhen, I talked about Barca forwards, like Lewandowski, Ferran Torres and Rashford. Not all of them will start simultaneously, and I think Barca might be quite difficult to predict in certain areas. Yamal's going to start, but with the others, including Fermin Lopez, you don't know what you're going to get there. But yeah, with the Mbappe news circulating today, and he's a serious doubt to play against Man City, that could be another idea for you to bolster your squad. I'm confused who to sell for Kane now. I'm not sure which forwards you've got there, to be honest. But I would be open to selling Mbappe to Kane this week. I'll put it that way. Hi Dylan, my team is Raya, Bacho. Let me just get your message up again. There are a lot of messages already. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Engage in the live chat and be patient. Your questions will be answered. And I will be going in order of submission, and members and patrons will be prioritized first. So, Van der Ven, Teze, Caicedo, Yildiz, Elise, Vitinha, Mbappe, Kane captain, Haaland with Chevalier, Byrne, Gabriel, Igor Paxal on the bench. Yeah, it's fine. If you have made your transfers already, then fair enough, but I would sell Gabriel. He could be available for Matchday 7. I mean, he most likely will be, but by that stage, Arsenal, I mean, they've already qualified, but they might have secured a really good position in the league phase if they beat Club Brugge, and if that's the case, they might just rest Gabriel in the Champions League and play Hincapié. So, yeah, Chevalier and Gabriel are the main concerns, and I will show you PSG's squad so I can highlight Nuno Mendes being in there and talk about Chevalier as well, but it is a decent squad for this match day. I like the Pacho pick in particular. I'll probably buy him in if I decide that Nuno Mendes is too risky. Hey Dylan, which one do you prefer, Yildiz, Foden or Elise? Thank you. For match day 6, it would be Elise, but Sporting are a good side with 8 wins out of the last 10. Thank you, Banjo. Mbappe Chaos, yes, definitely. There's always a spanner in the works, right, in UCL Fantasy, so those with chips remaining will be in a good position to deal with them, but yeah, I don't regret using the wildcard in 2. My main regret is using the Limitless in match day 5, but it is what it is. I would have happily used the Limitless this week. Hopefully, Harrison, that's all we can really strive for, make good decisions and increase our chance of getting lucky and also securing those green arrows. Help me out here. Garassi, Erling, Rafinha, or Yamal, Garassi, Rashi. So in both situations, you've got Garassi, so yeah, that's irrelevant. I think with the other two, it's probably going to be Yamal and Rashford for me, but Rashford isn't a guaranteed starter. Hey Dylan, I've used one free transfer to sell Alvarez to Kane. Should I use my second to sell Nuno Mendes to one of Byrne, Van der Ven, or Juventus defender, or sell Fermin Lopez to one of Yamal, Yilmaz? That's a lot of different ones, I can't lie. I would just buy Yamal for Fermin Lopez. Now, there are some predicted lineups with Fermin Lopez in there, and if that's the case, then you could argue it's a bit of a waste of a transfer. But Nuno Mendes is in the PSG squad, so there's a chance he starts anyway. Kane plus any defender, sub 4.4 million who, or Alvarez and any defender, sub 6.1 million who. There aren't many great options at 4.4 and below. But there are obviously some that will get ball recoveries. You just can't really trust them for clean sheets. So as a duo, I'd probably lean towards the Alvarez and 6.1 million defender-ish. But yeah, you're looking at Bacho, I think, as a prime example there. Hey Dylan, hope the holidays are treating you well. Likewise, Harrison. Thoughts on Renato Vega as a pickup for the injured Dumfries / Gabriel? Bacho or Timber is my other toss-up replacement for the other. I'd lean towards Bacho right now. But Arsenal are second in the clean sheet odds, but I'm very confident of a PSG clean sheet. If I was using the Limitless this week, I would double up on their defense. Updates on Mbappe? Yeah, I covered that towards the beginning. There's not really much more to say on that, but if we get any more news, then it will be covered throughout the duration of the stream. So welcome to Juan and Aaron, Banjo, and the others like Drunk Baller. Thank you very much, Banjo. Very kind of you. Mbappe to Kane or Alvarez to Kane and Trippier to 3.8 million defender. No, I wouldn't do Alvarez to Kane and, you know, force it by doing Trippier to a 3.8. I don't think that's worth it. So just Mbappe to Kane for me. Would you rather sell Rashford, probably not starting as he played 90 in the weekend, and Rafinha played 0, or Mbappe, who is a doubt going into the Man City game? I'd rather sell Rashford, I think, and you can also go to Garassi if you have enough money there. Anyone got like 6-player issues in their team? Yeah, a lot of us do. Even in my case, you've got only 2 red flags, right? But Ben Sebaini probably won't start. There are doubts about other players as well, Mbappe being the main one. So, yeah, even a hit could be valid this week. Yeah, it is an early stream for UCL Fantasy, but that's what the deadline kind of asks for, because the deadline's at 3:30 p.m. I usually start my deadline streams at 3 p.m. during the league phase, but it won't be the case this time. Well, it's possible, AZ, as we talked about in my FPL streams recently. I mean, it's looking more likely now with the whole situation. Drunk Baller says 3 defenders in red. It could be even more, to be fair with you. But Nuno Mendes is in the squad, so that red flag should be removed fairly soon. The early match is Kara Almaty against Olympiacos. That's why it's so early on. It looks like it. It looks like they're kicking out Salah. And unfortunately for me, I had him in my Limitless for UCL Fantasy and my free hit for FPL. And things just have gone downhill there ever since. If Salah leaves, who will be in the right wing position? Well, they're playing Szoboszlai most of the time, but they can also play Chiesa. But yeah, it's going to be completely different. Exactly that, Banjo. Some people will be caught a bit off guard by that because he's not flagged in UCL Fantasy, but Mbappe is a serious doubt here. I don't think Ben Sebaini will start, but I'll talk about the predicted lineups using UEFA's website and also different sources when possible, but I'm not so sure if that's going to be the case. Is Bar, Anton and Adeyemi nailed? They should start, yes. The least nailed on, the one who could be rotated, is Adeyemi, and we've seen that plenty of times this season. Louis Peckham says 2 free transfers, 1.3 in the bank. Transfer thoughts? Well, Dumfries and Gabriel are the clear standouts there. But so is Mbappe as well. I would be open to taking a -4 hit here, but what I'd probably do is Mbappe to Garassi and sell one of Dumfries or Gabriel, probably Dumfries, to Pacho. I think that's what I would do in your situation. Yeah, buenos dias, Randy. Good to see you. Would you take a -8 hit to get rid of 3 players who don't start, Mbappe, Lopez, Dumfries, and to upgrade Aklioch to Vitinha? It's worth bearing in mind, there is a chance that Fermin Lopez starts, but I can't guarantee it. There is enough doubt in my mind to be open to selling him. If I was wildcarding, I'd probably not go with Fermin Lopez at this point. But yeah, with the other two, I mean, Dumfries is definitely out. Mbappe might not start, might not even be in the squad against Man City. So I would focus on Mbappe and Dumfries. I wouldn't take a -8 hit to get rid of all 3 of them. So my answer is to keep Fermin Lopez in this case. Looking like a -4, -8 might be inbound. That's where people with the Limitless or wildcard could have an advantage from the get-go. And this could be a high-scoring week where, you know, playing one of those chips really pays off in a week like this. Welcome, Awale. As he says, subscribe to the channel, like the stream. It costs nothing, and it goes a long way to boosting us up in the algorithm. And also, it also engages us. And yeah, it shows that you value the content. And there's a lot of information to dissect in this stream with so many injuries and doubts going into Matchday 6. Thank you, Awale, as well for the reminder. Yeah, there are rumours, so I'm getting rid of Mbappe. Yeah, I think Mbappe could be a sell. I'm not doing that yet. I'm going to see if we can get any information before the deadline. But yeah, it is possible we get no updates until, you know, later on. And it would be frustrating if we get one at like 5 p.m., which is usually when the deadline would still be open. So we could make that transfer. It won't be the case this week. So this could be one of the most difficult sort of deadline streams and match days that we've had so far. Szoboszlai or McTominay? I'd still go for McTominay long term. And by that, I mean match day 6 to 8. Do you think Fermin Lopez or Rashford is more likely to start? I think Fermin Lopez is more likely to start. Have the likes of Mbappe, Gabriel, Dumfries, Arda, -4 worth it? I think a -4 is possibly worth it here. The thing is, though, I think Mbappe to Kane is probably the one to do. By making 2 defender transfers, I like Bacho a lot this week. Timber's a quality option, but I'm not sure if it's worth the -4 hit for those 2 players per se. So, yeah, the -4 hit could be worth it, but maybe to do something a little bit different and sell Mbappe to Harry Kane if Mbappe remains a major doubt before the deadline locks in. It's possible that Colin Muani starts, but there is a lot of rotation between him and Richarlison. Sometimes they play together. But, yeah, I would probably lean towards yes, and I will check the UEFA lineups as well and go through them with you, and you can see for yourself what they think. Cheers as well, Harrison, thank you very much. Calafiori is a good pick. He is suspended in the Premier League, so you could argue that boosts his chances of starting against Club Brugge, but we've seen this countless times in the Champions League this season. He has been benched for Lewis Skelly, so he's not the most nailed-on player for matchday 7 and 8, which is also important. Ahmed puts his team. Advice. Well, Sacha Boey is out, I believe. Mbappe is a serious doubt. I don't think Ben Sebaini will start. Gabriel and Dumfries are out. So I think in your situation, I would take a -4 hit and sell some of these players. Now, ideally, you just focus on the 2 players who are definitively ruled out. You know, Dumfries and Gabriel. Bolster your defensive line. I'd buy a PSG defender this week like Pacho, I think he's my favourite one now. Nuno Mendes is still a bit of a doubt for me, despite being in the squad. There is the possibility to take a -4 and sell Mbappe to Harry Kane. I would be open to that in your situation. Falcon says, hi Dylan, no more chips. Same here. I have Haaland, Rashford, Mbappe, Fermin Lopez, Paxao, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Elise, Nuno, Byrne, Van der Ven, Maboji, oh, I butchered that name, Dumfries. I know I need to deal with Mbappe. Well, it looks like it. Yeah, Mbappe to Kane or Guirassy would be my standout transfer. And I would sell Dumfries to Pacho. Yeah, that would be my suggestions for your team. Just stick with 2 free transfers in this situation, but everyone's situation will be slightly different. It's not going to be the same for absolutely everybody. So there is a super chat in the building. I'm going to go through that now, and then the member questions. So thank you, Dominic. Lewandowski and Nemecha, or Guirassy and Fermin Lopez. Wow. I am a bit skeptical about Fermin Lopez starting. I do prefer Guirassy and Fermin Lopez, though, assuming they both start. I'll be honest with you. Now, Nemecha offers great value at 5.9 million. He also offers you a decent floor of 4 points, essentially, every single match day. And Lewandowski could start, despite Ferran Torres scoring a hat-trick in a 5-3 win for Barcelona over the weekend. But, yeah, I think Guirassy and Fermin Lopez for me, just about. There's not really any news on Ben Sebaini per se, but he's off to the African Cup of Nations very soon, and I'm not even sure if he starts. Take a -4 for Mbappe. As for injury doubts, also have to sell 1 because already 2 players not playing. It's a difficult situation because there is still a chance that Mbappe starts, so I can't guarantee either way if he's going to start or not. But I probably would lean towards the hit right now and sell Mbappe to Kane. Why sell Mbappe? He can easily score 4. Yeah, Wei saying you haven't seen the news then. He hasn't been training. He's a major doubt to play against Man City tomorrow. Otherwise, people wouldn't sell Mbappe for a hit. Thanks. Thoughts on Osimhen and Rafinha? Well, both of them were covered in my wildcard and Limitless videos. I think on the Limitless, I'd be very keen on Rafinha, who didn't play any minutes over the weekend. So, yeah, I think he's going to start in the Champions League. And with Osimhen, he's been brilliant all campaign. He scored 2 goals as well on Saturday, I think, and he scored a 92nd minute winner. So he has been incredible for Galatasaray, and he's going to be very important for them if they are to qualify for the knockout playoff rounds or in the top 8. Will Amrim or Slot be sacked first? Slot, yeah. Nuno Mendes will play. I think so. He's in the squad, but I can't guarantee it. The same goes for Mbappe starting or not. I can only offer my opinion. And with Nuno Mendes, I think he starts, but I'm not fully convinced. Monaco Galatasaray predictions. I think that's in Predict 6. Maybe 2-1 Galatasaray. I'll go through that very soon. Yeah, my advice, KJ, is to use the wildcard during the league phase, but there is definitely the option and the possibility of using it later on, like I did last season. With the Limitless, though, I always recommend using it in the league phase no matter what, between matchday 2 to 7, not in matchday 8, which I've explained a few times. But with the wildcard, you could use it in matchday 6, 7, or 8, and by doing it in the last matchday of the league phase, you can essentially mirror or match the Limitless users because you cheap out your bench with the wildcard and just put all your money in the starting 11 because in Matchday 8, you can't make substitutions or change the captaincy, which is identical to Matchday 17, which is the Champions League final. Yeah, exactly that, Heartless. What about Aubameyang? Yeah, Aubameyang's been in great form this season. Also Mason Greenwood. I think Marseille have some decent options, like Igor Paxao as well. So I think Aubameyang has gone under the radar. He was exceptional against Newcastle, and he still got it at 35 years of age, but I don't think he's a better option than Guirassy for Matchday 6. Not really. Well, best buy and asset is definitely Harry Kane. Then it's probably Elise. I think Carl's been in great form, and he's doing very well to sort of fill in the voids that Bayern have in their squad and Luis Diaz's suspension. But yeah, I think it's going to be Kane first, and then some way away is going to be Michael Elise. Best Juve defender. This could be Cambiasso. I'll be honest with Juventus defenders, I'd rather avoid. I don't really trust them defensively, but they are top of the clean sheet odds against Paphos at home, so I understand why you're going there. On the Limitless, I wouldn't mind that, but longer term, I would have my doubts. I don't think Ben Sebaini will start. That's just my opinion. He is going off to the African Cup of Nations very soon as well. Should I do my wildcard after the video you made, or do you have better suggestions now? Not much really has changed except Mbappe. I mean, you could sell him to Erling Haaland or a different forward, which I've discussed in that video and also today. So yeah, in terms of when to wildcard, that is very team dependent. If you've got a lot of fires to put out, then I would use it now. Just bear in mind there is a big gap between matchday 6 and 7, and matchday 7 and 8 will be played within 1 week of each other. So there are pros and cons behind using the wildcard now and also in 7, but yeah, it just depends on your team, and I don't know the context of your 15-man squad. Should I take a hit of a -4 for Mbappe or Bensabani, or -8 for both? Just for Mbappe, it doesn't look like he'll start based on the information that we've seen. He hasn't been training. You know, he has discomfort, I think, in his left leg, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, taking a hit for Bensabani, I don't think is worth it. Even if you go to Pacho, which looks pretty good, I'd rather take the hit for the attacker. Good to see you, Matías. Hola, Dylan. ¿Qué opinas de vender a Mbappe y Yilmaz por David de Juve y Yamal? Te digo la verdad, no me gusta mucho a Yilmaz en este momento, pero creo que vale la pena mantenerlo. Contra Pafos y hizo un gol contra Napoli en el fin de semana. Así que para mí es mejor vender a Mbappe por Guirassy o Kane y mantener a Yilmaz. Pero me gusta mucho Yamal, entiendo lo que está haciendo. Si puedes ir por Guirassy y Yamal, en ese caso lo haría, pero para mí Yilmaz es una buena opción para la jornada 6. Tengo a Kane, Haaland, Fermín López, Paxao, McTominay y Saka. Sí, creo que Guirassy y Yamal sería muy bueno. Will Ferran Torres start? This is a difficult one to say. He scored a hat-trick over the weekend. He is first choice over Lewandowski. But we could also see rotation where Lewandowski starts the Champions League games, like he did against Chelsea, and then Ferran Torres starts in the La Liga games as well. I will go for the lineup because I haven't seen too many predicted lineups for Barcelona. But there was actually one I saw on Twitter, and I will refer to it here. So it did have Ferran Torres in the starting 11. And so was Fermín López. You had Yamal and Rafinha there on the wings. I'd lean towards yes, but I will be going through more predicted lineups very soon. Thank you for the super chat there. I think this is Julio Peña. Hi Dylan, I'm thinking of bringing in Kane and Kvaratskhelia or Vitinha for Mbappe and Fermín López. What do you think? I think that looks very solid, and it's worth bringing in PSG players against Athletic Club, who have been very inconsistent this season. They beat Atletico Madrid on Saturday, but they are 7th in La Liga. Over the last 10 games, they've got 3 wins. PSG haven't been at their absolute best, but they've also had a lot of injuries. But I think one of those two midfielders looks really solid. Kvaratskhelia will offer you more attacking potential from open play, but obviously Vitinha scored that hat-trick against Tottenham, and he's the one who offers the penalty duties and ball recovery potential. So yeah, I think long term, at least until matchday 8, I would go for Vitinha and Harry Kane, and that looks very solid to bolster your 15-man squad. Could Mbappe be a hold if you already have Kane? Yeah, I think so, and in the unlikely event, I guess, of him starting against Man City, you'd be quite keen on having Mbappe there, whilst most people would have sold him. Yeah, Paredes, we covered Mbappe quite a lot. I mean, he didn't train today. That's really all we know, and he's a serious doubt to play. He's got some discomfort in his leg, so we don't know if he's going to play or not. It looks very unlikely right now, but that could easily change in a couple of hours or by tomorrow because it's such a massive game. Xabi Alonso's future's on the line as well. As for Osimhen, punt, yeah, he's been brilliant all season, and he's more than a punt. He's a great option long term. So Mbappe is out according to Fabrizio. Well, it's good that we have clarity if that's the case. I'd rather know for sure, and that would change my transfer plans. And by the way, it would probably mean I buy Guirassy, and this guy, whenever I have Guirassy, he is so underwhelming, and when I don't have him, he's scoring braces and hat-tricks for fun. I don't really like Guirassy, to be honest, from that perspective, but I'll probably bring him in and jinx him. But I appreciate the update. I'm going to go to Fabrizio's page now and maybe show you the updates as well. Well, yeah, Camavinga not fit. I don't know where you saw the Mbappe's out. He did post something earlier. He just said he didn't train with the Madrid squad and he's a doubt to face City. That I saw. But yeah, if you got a tweet or something or a link to where he said that, then yeah, I'll have a look. But I don't think Mbappe has been ruled out. I wish he was, or at least, you know, kind of we know where we stand with him. So then we can make an informed decision. Best defender for long-term, Borro, Upamecano or Kalulu? I mean, difficult one to say. probably Upamecano. From Spurs, I think Van der Ven's the best option, but he's also a suspension risk. Timber or Upamecano? I still prefer Timber, but we could see a rotation there in matchday 7 and 8. He should start against Club Brugge tomorrow, though. What is the best defense to have in UCL Fantasy this week? It was covered in my Limitless and Wildcard videos. You could certainly make a case for, including a Juve defender like Kalulu or Cambiaso. That could also work very well. But I think I'd stick with what I went for there. Does Torres start for Barcelona? This was covered a bit earlier. I think he will start, but I'm not fully convinced. Voltemada, not really for me. And I think Newcastle-Leverkusen will be a tough match. And people have been saying that Grimaldo's injured or that he's going to miss out. He trained yesterday, so it looks like he'll be available for Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, exactly that. He said doubt only. So it's important to be careful how we report things or say things because it could lead to confusion. What I want to do here is, provide clarity and make sure everyone is informed and they can make the best decision possible for UCL Fantasy. Milinkovic-Savic for Carnesecchi. Not really sure it's worth it, to be fair. I know Atalanta playing Chelsea, but you're selling the high-scoring goalkeeper in UCL Fantasy for a 4 million option who's facing Benfica, who are 30th in the Champions League table, but I still don't have that trust in Napoli keeping a clean sheet away from home. Reece James Augusto. Very difficult to say who starts, and sometimes we see both of them start together, especially in the big games, but yeah, that is a very difficult one. I think I'd lean towards Gusto. Lamine or Kane for captain? Harry Kane. Minus say of Mbappe, Arda, Güler, Gabriel, Dumfries to Guirassy, Vitinha, Bacho, Timber / Kalulu. Yeah, looks good. I'd still go for Timber over Kalulu, but Kalulu's probably a bit more nailed on for the remainder of the league phase. It's worth saying that. Why pick Yilmaz? Well, he's already in my teammate. It's not like I'm picking a fresh squad and picking Yilmaz, but he is facing Paphos at home. Surely he's going to do something here, but yeah, he's been an absolute flop for me since signing him on the wildcard in matchday 2. Thoughts on Bruges firing Hayen for Lecco. What will be the impact if I play Zolis? Well, you sometimes get a managerial bounce, right? But they're up against Arsenal. They'll probably see it as a free hit, and any result they get, they'll see as a bonus. But despite Arsenal's recent woes away from home, they've still been, very solid in the Champions League. Only conceded 1 goal, and that was a great bit of play by Carl. So who's Pacho's replacement? Matchday 6 to 8 in mind. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Bacho is a player to buy. He's not someone to sell. So yeah, unless I'm missing something, yeah, Bacho's a great option. Nuno's in the PSG squad. Buy him over Bacho or play it safe. I can only speak for how I feel right now, and it's more likely I'll buy Bacho at this moment in time. But yeah, the fact that Nuno Mendes is in the squad is very encouraging, and I think he will start, but I have more doubts about that compared to Bacho. Anton will start, I believe so. Guirassy to replace Haaland or Alvarez for a -4. Is it worth it? I wouldn't do it for a -4 hit, no. I think this week Guirassy could outscore Haaland by a decent number of points, but when you also factor in matchday 7 and 8, I don't think it's worth it. Who should I keep, Mbappe or Haaland? Well, based on the injury updates we got, I think I'd rather keep Haaland. So, L'Equipe, apparently, thank you, Nicole, for this chat and this update. So, Mbappe is very unlikely to play against Man City. He feels significant pain in his knee after a strong knock against Celta Vigo. And this is according to L'Equipe. Thank you very much. Yes, I think Nuno Mendes starts, but I can't guarantee it. Do I keep Esteval or not? And do I keep Vicario and Savic or switch? It depends on the situation of your squad, right? Because if you've also got Gabriel, Dumfries, they should be bigger priorities to sell because they're definitively ruled out. At least Esteval can make an impact off the bench. He might even start the game and do well against Atalanta. He was also the Chelsea player I highlighted against Barcelona and he scored, but yeah, Esteval's minutes aren't particularly secure, to be honest with you. As for Vicario and Savic, yeah, that's fine. You don't need to switch it necessarily. Ultimately, you got to be mindful of goalkeepers playing on the same day, but it's not worth making a transfer in that case. You just start Vicario. Do you prefer Rafinha, Vitinha, or McTominay? For matchday 6 only, it would be Rafinha. Fermi Lopez, some lineups have him starting, but I couldn't guarantee it. Yeah, Mario, I don't know what else to say to you, mate. This question has been answered a few times. Cucurella or Van der Ven for long term? I prefer Van der Ven, but he is one yellow card away from suspension. I have Mbappe, Nuno, and Chevalier. Would you take them out? Nuno's in the squad, so I wouldn't sell him now. I would sell Mbappe, though, based on the updates we're seeing. And assuming you're happy with the rest of your squad, then I would sell Chevalier. But ideally, you wouldn't make goalkeeper transfers, particularly if it involves hits. In this case, it doesn't seem to be the case. It depends, Tom. I'm not even sure if Mbappe will start or not. If I had to guess right now, I'm going to say no. It doesn't look likely at all, but with a player of that caliber and a game of that magnitude, things can change very quickly, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and this will in turn answer other questions too, is go through different screens and updates, and this will in turn answer some questions of yours. So let's start off, before I go to the updates, to my Champions League Fantasy League. It's very easy to join. SEINOF, that's the code. You can copy and paste that because there is a link in the description. So there's an auto join link. You click it, you're automatically in, and you can also copy and paste the code to the app or website. So we have over 5,000 members here, making it one of the biggest UCL fantasy leagues in the world. And for Predict 6, I've gone for 2-0 Bayern, 2-1 Inter Milan against Liverpool. I've gone for 1-1 here between Monaco and Galatasaray. I might change that to a 2-1 Galatasaray win. Villarreal 2, Copenhagen 1. This one I might have to change. Real Madrid 3, Man City 2. And I've gone for Club Brugge 0, Arsenal 2, despite the recent away performances, and only one clean sheet out of the last 6 matches for the Gunners. So there is definitely the possibility to revisit some of these. I am definitely less keen on Real Madrid winning now. So that could even turn into a Man City win. And I might even go for Galatasaray to get all 3 points. So these are the predicted lineups according to Kicker for Bayern Munich and Sporting. So Neuer, Lima, Upamecano, Tar, and Stanisic, Kimmich, Pavlovic, Elise, Karl, Gnabry, and Harry Kane. And for Sporting, there's Rhys Silva, Araujo, Inacio, Diomande, Fresneda, João Simões, Hjulmand, Quenda, and Gonçalves on the wings, Trincao, and Luis Suarez. So Camavinga is out against Man City. That is confirmed by Fabrice Hawkins, a reliable journalist. And Mbappe is a serious doubt for Real Madrid against Man City due to muscle discomfort in his left leg, and L'Equipe are reporting that it's a problem with his knee. And he also was absent from training today. And these are the players missing out for Real Madrid against Man City. Carvajal, Mendy, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Alaba, Militao, Camavinga and Howson are all out. And Mbappe is going to be a major doubt and flag against the citizens tomorrow. Stones is absent from Man City's training against Real Madrid. So yeah, don't expect Stones to play. I think that goes without saying. And this could be a probable 11 for Atletico Madrid. Oblak, Molina, Lenormand, Hanko, and Publil? Yeah, nice name. Juliano, Barrios, Koke, Nico, Alvarez, and Sorloth. With Paris Saint-Germain, we had updates from their official page. So Dembele is ill and will rest. Chevalier continues with his recovery. Beraldo continues with his rehabilitation work. And the same goes for Hakimi. No updates there on Nuno Mendes because he is in the squad, as you can see here. Now, if you look at the rest of the names in here, there is no Chevalier. So, yeah, that is very telling. No Chevalier. I'm just triple checking just in case. But yeah, Chevalier's out. Nuno Mendes is in. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. And this is a probable 11 from Sky Sports Italia, who are so reliable when it comes to Inter Milan. And that's not sarcasm, by the way. Jan Sommer in goal. Bisek, Acerbi, or Acerbi, Bastoni, Luis Enrique and DeMarco as the wingbacks. Barella, Kalanoglu, Mkhitaryan, with Lautaro Martinez and Thuram up front. I'm also going to go through these predicted lineups according to UEFA. I'm going to refresh this just in case. I will not really focus on Kara and Mati Olympiakos for several reasons. I mean, UCL fantasy-wise, we won't be too interested, maybe in 1 or 2 Olympiakos picks, and we're going to get that lineup in the next 40 minutes or so. To be fair, yeah, maybe in the next 15, 20 minutes actually. But what I'll focus on here are the players who are out, doubtful, and also suspension risks. So for Kara Almaty, Arad, Sapiev, and Zarutsky are all injured, whilst Arad and Jorginho will miss the next game if booked. For Olympiacos, Restos is out with a groin injury, and Dani Garcia is a suspension risk. For Bayern Munich Sporting, I covered the kicker lineups, and it's quite similar here for Bayern Munich. In fact, it's identical. No changes there whatsoever. Diaz is suspended and Musiala is out, but it looks like Sacha Boey is also going to be missing out in matchday 6. Alphonso Davies is doubtful, and Lima is a suspension risk. For Sporting as well, yeah, pretty much the lineup that we saw from kicker. But I think maybe Mateus Reis is a bit different. So, De Bast, Cuenda, Pedro Gonçalves, and Trincao, it says they're out. That isn't the case at the moment. With players who will miss the next game if booked, you've got Araujo, Hjulmand, and Pedro Gonçalves. Monaco, Galatasaray, Hradecki, Henrique, Salisu, Carrere, Vanderson, Zakaria, Kamara, Golovin, Minamino, Aklioch, Balogun. The players who are out include Dyer, Fati, and Mawissa, while Salisu and Golovin will miss the next game if booked. And for Galatasaray, the kind of main ones to look out for, yeah, Osimhen. He is the standout player here, a great replacement for Mbappe. I do prefer Guirassy this week, but I think Osimhen is still a brilliant option to round off the league phase. So Arda Unyai is suspended. Ayhan has a groin injury. Lemina has an unspecified problem, and Singo is out with a hamstring problem. So Akgun is doubtful. The same goes for Buyuk, Jakobs, and Kutlu. Jakobs will also miss the next game if booked. For Atalanta Chelsea, Gusto and James are both in the predicted lineup here for Chelsea, according to UEFA. And yeah, Colwill, Delap, Lavia, and Palmer are all injured. Andre Santos will miss the next game if booked. And for Atalanta, Sulemana is out, whilst Darun and Musa are suspension risks. For Barcelona Frankfurt, they've gone for Ferran Torres in this lineup alongside Lewandowski, with Rafinha and Yamal. No Fermin Lopez in this predicted lineup. Araujo is suspended, whilst Gavi and Olmo are out injured. Casado, De Jong, Fermin Lopez, and Yamal will miss the next game if booked, so that's worth bearing in mind with a lot of these suspension risks. And with Frankfurt, Batshuayi, Burka, and Chandler are all injured, and they have no suspension risks and no doubtful players per se. For Inter Milan against Liverpool, if we look at this starting 11, it might be a little bit different to what I just showed you, but I would back the Sky Sports Italia one because they are so reliable when it comes to Inter Milan. Darmian, Dumfries, and Di Gennaro are out. Akanji is a doubt due to illness. And for Liverpool, Chiesa, Endo, Frimpong, and Gakpo are injured, and Salah has been omitted from the squad after his fallout with Arne Slot and the club in general. Bradley will also miss the next game if booked. And for PSV Eindhoven against Atletico Madrid, so Baudu and Pli are injured, Perisic is doubtful with a hamstring problem, and Sabari will be a suspended player if he gets booked once more. With Atletico Madrid, Alex Baena, Jimenez, and Llorente are injured. Cardoso is doubtful, whilst Lenormand and Lenglet will miss the next game if booked. We're now on to Union Saint-Gilloise against Marseille. No players are injured there for the Belgian side. No doubtful players, but if McAllister or Van der Perre, if they get a booking, they will miss the next game. For Marseille, Gouiri and Traoré are injured, whilst Agurd, Belerdi, and Pavard will all be suspended for the next game. So Tottenham against Slavia Prague, the last match of the Tuesday. Solanke and Udogie are injured. Johnson is doubtful. And the suspension risks include Richarlison, Colomwani, and Van der Ven. So in this one, they've got Colomwani and Richarlison both starting together, which makes sense. With Slavia Prague, Dorley is injured. Churi is ill, so that makes him a doubt. And Meboji, probably a terrible pronunciation, but he could miss the next game if booked. Well, he will miss the next game if that's the case. With Karabag, Silva and Medina are suspension risks. And for the away side, Berghuis and Van den Boomen are out. McConnell, Sutalo, Taylor, and Weghorst are doubtful. And Weghorst and Gay are going to be suspension risks as well. For Villarreal Copenhagen, Foyth is suspended. Camboala has a hamstring problem, and Gerardo Moreno has a muscular issue. Renato Vega, Gay and Mourinho will miss the next game if booked. And for the away side, Hodger, Laraga and Matson are all unavailable. Cornelius and Delaney are doubtful. And that is a crazy name. That's actually really impressive. Hasidiakos? Yeah, Greek people will be laughing at me. And Lopez, they will miss the next game if booked. Now on to Athletic Club against PSG. So they don't have Nuno Mendes in this predicted 11. They've got Safonov starting in goal, which makes sense with Chevelin not in the squad. Zaire Emery as the right back, and Bacho would be essentially the left back to replace Nuno Mendes, if that's the case. But the Portuguese left back is available. He's in the squad, and that has also been reflected here. So Chevalier is out, same with Dembele, Hakimi, Hernandez, and Lucas Beraldo. The likes of Doué, Nuno Mendes, and Zabani remain doubtful, and Nuno Mendes is also a suspension risk. So because of the doubt surrounding him, I might just settle for Bacho to cover that PSG defense. And yeah, let's not forget Athletic Club. So Laporte, Navarro, Paredes, Sanadi, and Williams are all unavailable, and everything else looks good for the Spanish outfit. For Leverkusen against Newcastle, Blazwich and Fernandez are injured, whilst Grimaldo, Tape, and Lucas Vasquez are doubtful. Botman, Kraft, Osula, Pope, and Trippier are all unavailable, whilst Joelinton and Byrne are suspension risks. So maybe Chow is the best way of covering Newcastle defensively at this moment in time. They've also not got Byrne in their predicted 11, which would be... That's the last thing I need, really, because I'm already in the mud, especially when it comes to my defensive line. So this week could be crazy. Like a -4, -8 could be taken, and I rarely do that in UCL Fantasy. So for Borussia Dortmund against Bodo Glimt, Sula is out, and they do have Garassi in that predicted 11, but not Adeyemi. Ben Sabani's in there, though. Please, come on. If Ben Sabani and Byrne start, I'm a much happier man. That's all I'm saying. With Bodo Glimt, Gunderson is suspended, whilst Oakland and Berg are suspension risks. For Club Brugge against Arsenal, Ador, Yakas, Rees, and Romero are out. Mignolet, Sab, and Verman are doubtful, and Onyedika will miss the next game if booked. And for the Gunners, Gabriel, Havertz, and Mosquera are injured, while Saliba and Trossard are doubtful. And it looks like Saliba will be in the squad against Club Brugge, based on the reports I saw over the weekend. But with Trossard, yeah, he's still feeling the same problems that he had before he came back against Aston Villa and scored, but he was subbed off despite coming on as a substitute. The Juventus against Paphos, Bremer, Gatti, Pinsoglio, Rugani, Vlahovic are all injured, whilst Cabal and Cambiasso will miss the next game if booked. And for Paphos, Sema is injured, Quina is doubtful, and that's about it. And just look at Real Madrid Man City. I mean, yeah, the home side are decimated at the moment. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Carvajal, Mendy, and Eder Militao are injured. Alaba, Camavinga, and Howson are doubtful, but reports indicate that Camavinga will miss out, and Mbappe is another one to add to this list. We could see the Frenchman miss out in Matchday 6 in such a crucial game. Carreras will miss the next game if booked. And for Man City, Kovacic is injured, Rodri's doubtful, Savinho and Bernardo Silva are suspension risks. And the last game is Benfica-Napoli, and I will put a link in the live chat so you can have a look yourself, and there will be updates throughout the course of the day. So, Bar and Bruma are out. Luka Bacchio and Otamendi will miss the next game if booked. And for Napoli, De Bruyne, Gilmour, Gutierrez, Lobotka, Politano, and Guisa are all injured. And Romani will miss the next game if booked. So hopefully you appreciate that. It gives you a lot of insight, in my opinion. And yeah, you can see which players are likely to start. There could be a few changes, of course, like, for example, Mbappe, Nuno Mendes, and even Fermi Lopez, for example. He could break into that Barca starting 11, but things will become clear over the coming days, and hopefully we get a bit more clarity over the next hour before we lock in our teams. It is an early deadline today at 3:30 p.m. in the UK, and I just wanted to show you a few other things before going back to your questions and focusing on them for the remainder of this stream. So these will be my team selection graphics, and I did a triple upload yesterday for UCL Fantasy. You would have seen, my thoughts. I did have Nuno Mendes as a prime Gabriel/Dumfries replacement, but I think Bacho's a bit more likely at this moment in time. You can see how my Limitless did in Matchday 5, and I would have scored more points without it. I just wish I still had that Limitless chip to use now, but it is what it is. What's done is done, and now we can only look forward and, yeah, just make the best of a difficult situation, in my opinion, because we have so many injuries and concerns and also rotations. It's going to be a very messy match day in my opinion. Dumfries to Bachot looks like a brilliant transfer in my opinion. Even Gabriel to Van de Ven could work, but there is a suspension risk in there for the Dutchman, and Fermi Lopez to McTominay would be for a hit. And I could also afford Elise by making the other two moves. That's something else that I'm also thinking about. But I've also got Mbappe, who is a major doubt to play against Man City. So there are so many problems you can pick out with this squad. Even Dan Burn isn't a guaranteed starter. Neither is Gusto. Van der Ven's a suspension risk if I bring him in. So you could literally pick holes out all day with this squad. Harry Kane will be my captain today. I think that goes without saying. For those of Barca attackers, I would be very tempted, particularly with Lamine Yamal. And for the Wednesday, I might even just have to settle for a PSG player, whether that's Nuno Mendes or Bacho coming in. Mbappe would have been a sort of safety net and a very solid captaincy option there. But yeah, we might not even have him to contend with. I might even just go to Guirassy, and he could also enter the equation for the armband as well. So that kind of speaks for itself. There are so many issues at the moment. Ideally, I just stick with 2 free transfers, even if it means going down to 12 or 13 players in my 15-man squad and not making the most of substitutions. But having said all of that, a -4 hit is still possible, and I'll try my very best not to take more than that. I think a -8 or above is probably excessive in most cases for UCL Fantasy. So let me show you now the odds. And I'll start off with the clean sheet odds here. Juventus are top against Paphos, Arsenal, Tottenham, Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Olympiacos complete the top 6, and Frankfurt are bottom with a 5% probability against Barca away. You can also see the rest of the teams ranked in order, and these stats are all taken by the website fantasyfootballpundit.com. The same goes for the goal scorer odds, which are very important, and Guirassy is top, Kane is second, Lewandowski, Vlahovic and David are in the top 5, but some of these players are injured, and these would have been updated, I think. If they haven't been already, they probably will be updated within the next few hours. But Vlahovic is out, so we can forget about him. And this is with the assumption that all these players will start, and that's not going to be the case, to be honest with you. So whoever starts between Lewandowski or Ferran Torres, they could start together, but yeah, I don't think all these Barca attackers, for example, will be in the lineup at the same time. With the top 10 captains, it's probably worth excluding Mbappe from this list altogether. He was 8th originally in my list. Saka's 10th, Kvaratskhelia 9th, Lewandowski or Ferran Torres in 7th, with Nuno Mendes in 6th, Elise 5th, and the top 4 comprise of Rafinha, Yamal, Guirassy, and Harry Kane. So I do agree with the goal scorer odds, just in a bit of a different order. Harry Kane is still my preferred choice, I think, because of the all-round play and also the consistency this season. I think Guirassy had some shaky moments, particularly in October, but yeah, he's been more impressive recently. He didn't score over the weekend in a 2-0 win for Dortmund, but I think Guirassy has the highest ceiling against Bodo Glimt, that's for sure. I'm also going to let this play out with stats and fixtures being highlighted. You can also see the league table, and these are taken by UEFA's Twitter platform, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, I went through these in my team selection yesterday, and there's so much to dissect, really, and Mbappe, the highest scorer of Matchday 5, is now a major doubt to play against Man City, so that is a big shame for a lot of people. Yamal is definitely worth adding to the watch list, and to be honest, he is a great option. Just bear in mind, he is a suspension risk, so there is a bit of doubt there. The same goes for Van de Ven, Nuno Mendes, and a few other players we might want to add to our UCL fantasy teams. So what I'm going to do now is go back to my squad and answer your questions for the next hour or so. And be patient, your questions will be answered. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And also join me on Discord. There's my Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. There are so many ways to engage with the content. Osman to Kane for a -4. No, I wouldn't take a hit for that. Definitely not. Okay, we've got a few super chats in the building. Thank you to Nahal. Dumfries, Gabriel, Mbappe to Van de Ven, Timber, Alba, -4. That looks very solid. My only concern, or the main issues I've got, is that Van de Ven is a suspension risk and Timber will start against Club Brugge in my opinion, but I'm not sure if that will be the case in match day 7 and 8. Overall, I think the -4 hit is worth it, but in terms of forwards, I do prefer Guirassy and potentially Osman over Aubameyang, but the Gabonese striker has certainly been very impressive this season and he's in great form. He's also doing in the Champions League, so yeah, he's definitely a good choice. Well, Nuno Mendes, as covered earlier, mate, he's in the squad. So he's doubtful still because he's coming off the back of an injury. His last game was against Tottenham Hotspur in matchday 5. He hasn't played since, but yeah, all these predicted lineups don't have him in the starting 11, but he is in the squad. So he's got a chance to be selected and to start from the get-go. Alba's a rogue pick, but I don't hate. Yeah, I agree. I think Aubameyang is very underrated. He deserves more credit and more mentions, but I still would put him a little bit below the other strikers I've talked about for matchday 6, but he was very impressive against Newcastle, that's for sure. Van Dijk and Mbappe to Kane and Marquinhos and keep Mendes. Yeah, looks good to me. I think Mendes will get some minutes, but with defenders, you want them to start for sure. Otherwise, the clean sheet potential is already gone. But yeah, I'd rather keep Nuno Mendes than Van Dijk right now. Yeah. Should I get Lookman out? He hasn't been great this season. I was very keen on him in the previous campaign, but yeah, Atalanta as well have been quite poor. Karnaseci is their best asset in UCL Fantasy, but I think the simple answer to this would be yes, I would, if possible. Mbappe is not definitively ruled out, but he's a major doubt. A lot of these different journalists and sources are indicating that he probably won't play tomorrow, but it's not 100% set in stone. Once again there, I'm not going to recommend a -4 either way, whether you're selling Kane to Osimhen, or in your case, selling Osimhen to Kane. I wouldn't take a hit for that. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I kind of like rushed it a little bit, just like hopefully I got it right. So thank you for the feedback. Vitinha or McTominay? Close one. Vitinha's on penalties, which I like a lot. I think over the next 3 match days, I would lean towards McTominay. Who is your captain, Kane, Yamal, or Rafinha? Well, I don't have Yamal or Rafinha. You just saw my captaincy list as well, where both Rafinha and Yamal are in the top 4, but Kane is ranked above them. So that would be the one. Yeah, it is a good name, but also complicated for most people. Wait, are we sure Mbappe is definitely out? Yeah, once again, I've covered that. Ben Sabani, that would be a surprise. Yeah, but imagine if I had, Gabriel and Dumfries are injured. I couldn't get rid of them because I limitless last week. Then Ben Sabani and Byrne are both benched, and then Gusto as well. Then I'd be down to 0 defenders, so I need to bolster that defensive line ASAP. Once again, Nuno Mendes is in the squad, so he's not out, but I can't guarantee that he starts. If you're asking me, I think Nuno Mendes will start. Based on the information we saw of Mbappe, he hasn't trained, he's got discomfort in his knee. I don't think Mbappe will play. I think he'll be out. That's just my opinion based on what I've seen, but I couldn't guarantee one way or the other. Essentially, both players are not definitively ruled out. But of course, in the case of Nuno Mendes, he's travelled, so that means he's in contention. But in terms of starting or not, that's a different question entirely. Good to see you, Agustin. Un -4 o hasta -8 en esta jornada. Tengo Mbappe, que es duda, Gabriel y Dumfries lesionados. Si es posible, no me gusta tomar un -8 y hasta un -4. Si puedes evitarlo, lo haría, pero cada situación es diferente y creo que con todas las lesiones y también otros jugadores como Ben Sebani que pueden estar en el banco, causa muchos problemas en tu equipo. Así que en tu caso creo que un -4 vale la pena, pero un -8 sería un poquito mucho. Hola Dylan, ¿a quién prefieres entre Yamal y Rafinha? Yamal. Creo que a largo plazo, considerando la jornada 7 y 8, creo que Yamal es mejor. I have wildcard and limitless and 2 free transfers. What should I do? Okay, so that's an interesting one because in isolation, the limitless is probably best used in matchday 7. But the thing I would say, based on the schedule, I would limitless now and then wildcard in 7. Because if you wildcard now and then limitless in 7, you only have 2 free transfers in 8. And you're going to get rotation. There's going to be injuries by that stage. And also you're wildcarding in December whilst you've got back-to-back match days within a week in January between 7 and 8. So I think the best thing to do is limitless now and wildcard in 7. I think that'd be the best course of action. I wouldn't even mind wildcarding in 8 because by doing so, you get all the lineups at the same time. You can only pick one captain and a starting 11. So you can cheap out your bench and essentially build another limitless team. With a wildcard, though, you like to have the long-term effects. So, for example, I played it in 2 and got massive green arrows until match day 5. And I even got 100 points in back-to-back match days. So the long-term effects of a wildcard would be lost by using it in match day 7 or 8. But I think in this situation, it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. Limitless now, and then wildcard in 7 or 8, depending on your team situation. Igor Paxal and Yamal or Rafinha and Yamal? So basically the question is Rafinha or Igor Paxal. I'm going to go for Rafinha. Yeah. We can use Mbappe or not. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say to this, to be honest, but Mbappe's a doubt. If you look at the sources and the journalists and the news I covered, it looks like he won't play. So can you keep him? It depends. If you're happy with your other 14 players, then you can, but I also think it's worth making a transfer, even for a -4 hit potentially, although I don't like it too much, to buy a Guirassy or a Harry Kane, and that's with the assumption that Mbappe won't play at all against Man City. Nuno Mendes is not out. He's in the squad. Panic Mbappe, yeah. People keep saying he's out. He's not definitively ruled out with Mbappe. So that's where there's a lot of misconfusion. So maybe I'll put a pinned comment. I'm probably going to do that, to be honest, because I think otherwise we're going to go around in circles. So Nuno Mendes is in the squad. So he's got a chance of starting, but I can't guarantee you either way. Mbappe is a doubt. He hasn't trained, but he's not definitively ruled out. That hasn't been confirmed yet. Thoughts on Cucurella? Not a massive fan, but I think a Chelsea defender definitely has its pros and cons. Yeah, I think Cucurella, if you got him, you keep. I wouldn't be buying him in necessarily, though. I think they'll probably concede against Atalanta. Thank you for the super chat, Aaron. Apologies for not seeing it earlier. Guirassy and Rafinha or Alvarez and Elise long term. I have Kane, but no Barca cover. Thanks and good luck. I would go for Guirassy and Rafinha personally. The only thing I'd say about that, that's my preference for sure Matchday 6, but obviously you ask about long term, including 7 and 8. So Guirassy will play against Inter and Spurs, where he can score, but his ceiling will be far lower. Alvarez has the more difficult fixture this week against an informed PSV side who could be Atletico Madrid. But, yeah, Guirassy, he looks so good this week, but when you also consider the long term, that's where things might fall apart a little bit. So, because of your question and you saying long term, I'd probably lean towards the Alvarez Elise one. Yeah, that would be the best answer to it, considering Matchday 7 and 8. Fantasy says, why not using wildcard? Well, I've already used it, so yeah, that kind of goes without saying. Good luck as well to you, Aaron, by the way. Thank you for the super chat. Let me know what you're kind of going towards at the moment. Julian Alvarez, Haaland or Osimhen por Mbappe? Yo haría por Osimhen en este momento, pero me gusta mucho Alvarez. Es que PSV está jugando muy bien, así que comprarlo ahora parece... No sé, no me gusta mucho comprar a Alvarez en la jornada 6, pero sí, es muy difícil entre ellos tres. Erling Haaland está muy bien para la jornada 7 y 8, pero si estás comprando una ahora, creo que Osimhen es el mejor. Best Arsenal defender and Yamal for Gordon or Paxal? Best Arsenal defender with Gabriel injured is probably Timber, but I could see him rotated in 7 and or 8. Against Kara and Mati, and by that stage, I think Arsenal would have won at least one more game, and they would be in a strong position to, qualify in a, good position in the league phase table, which gives them an advantage in the knockout stages and stuff. Yeah, I could see Timber being benched. So, whilst he's the best defender right now, whilst he keeps on starting, that might not be the case at 7 or 8, which is why I talked about Hincapié in my recent video. Yes, Gabriel should be back by matchday 7, but I think Arsenal, if they beat Club Brugge, they could rotate in 7 and 8 and play Hincapié in those matches against Inter Milan away, and particularly against Kara and Mati. That's where I think Hincapié will certainly start. So I'm going to say Hincapié, which might be an unpopular opinion. As for Yamal for Gordon or Paxal, interesting. Gordon had a great start to the Champions League. He tailed off a little bit. He's also more expensive, right? But Igor Paxal has also suffered a similar trend, The points have reduced. He's not getting as many goals or assists now. I would lean towards selling Gordon to Lamine Yamal, and that can also help you have a bit more money in the bank to upgrade other areas. That would be my take on it. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Thank you for the super chat as well. And also to Haribo, greetings to you. Hi Dylan, do you think Rashford will start? Based on the lineups I've seen, I'm going to say no. I don't think he starts. But it's very difficult to predict with Barca because there's also Fermin Lopez. Is he going to start? What about Rafinha and Yamal? I'd be more convinced about those two. But then you've got Ferran Torres and Lewandowski. They're not all going to start. But in the case of Rashford, I think he'll be on the bench. Also, if I only wanted to replace one of my two injured defenders, Dumfries and Gabriel, which one do I hold? Well, Inter Milan will play Arsenal in matchday 7. Dumfries has more attacking threat, particularly from open play, but he's also got more difficult fixtures. I'll be honest, I'd rather keep, well, on paper, Gabriel, but I did talk about this earlier. Arsenal face Kara and Matti in matchday 8, right? And I could see Hincapié starting that match, and Gabriel gets a rest. It's a great time to, give players like Gabriel a much-needed rest. So it's a difficult one. Arsenal have better fixtures, and you'd probably fancy them against Inter based on current form. But Inter have the home advantage. Dumfries has more attacking threat, and he's going to start every game essentially for the Nerazzurri. So I'm going to say Dumfries, I think. It's really close, but because of my assumption that Hincapié would start in matchday 8 and Gabriel gets a rest, I'm going to go for Dumfries. So it's a very difficult question to answer, and, I might sell both of them in the end. And if I decide to just sell one, I'm going to have the same dilemma as you, and it's going to be very difficult to determine that. Stanisic as fifth defender, I'm not a massive fan. He doesn't get many ball recoveries. There's not much in terms of attacking threat, but I understand why you're going for it. He does offer reasonable value, but I'd probably say no. I'm terrified of having no Barca cover this week. I get that. And that's why it's going to be worth thinking outside the box here. So this is a limitless squad, essentially. Something along these lines that I would build, and it's identical to what I talked about yesterday. Initially, I had Mbappe over Osimhen, but Mbappe is a major doubt now. But if we look at my squad in particular, I've got 0.1 in the bank right now and 2 free transfers. Okay, so if I just forget about Gabriel and Dumfries for a minute, which is difficult because my defensive line looks horrible now, I could do Mbappe to Guirassy. And then, with that money, I can buy Lamine Yamal. Probably for Saka. I mean, that's the easiest thing to do, right? But in order to force him in with Igor Paxal, I would need to sell one of these defenders. So what I'm thinking of at the moment, purely because he costs more money, is to sell Dumfries first, even though he's going to start against Arsenal and Dortmund. With Gabriel, I think he'll start against Inter matchday 7, but not against Kara and Matti, which is where you want these Arsenal players to start. So here I'm going to bring in Bacho, and then I've got 4 million in the bank, and that's where I could sell Igor Paxal as one example, or Fermin Lopez to Lamine Yamal. I think that could work fairly well whilst keeping Saka. But then, does Saka start? That's going to be the other question, and I couldn't guarantee you either way with most of these Arsenal players if they're going to start. So, yeah, matchday 6 is going to be a madness. Even if you use the Limitless and Wildcard, you're going to solve a lot of issues, but you might also be caught out by some rotation, like I was in matchday 5 when using the Limitless. So, yeah. I will have a look at other predicted lineups and see if that will help. But with Arsenal, for example, just going to go to what UEFA have predicted here. They do have Saka in their lineup. So their Arsenal lineup would be Raya, White, Timber, Hincapié, Lewis Skelly, Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice, Saka, Marino, Eze. In my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I think Calafiori could start here because he's suspended against Wolves. So I think Lewis Skelly will start against Wolves, obviously, and Calafiori gets the nod here against Club Brugge. But yeah, if Saka starts, that's great. I can also have something a little bit different where I've got Saka and Yamal. That looks pretty good. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. What do you think about these transfers for a -4 hit? I would be down to 14 players. If I also wanted to, sell Gabriel, it would be a -8, but I don't really think it's worth it. I also look at the list of defenders, and it's uninspiring at this moment in time. I could go for an Arsenal defender, but it doesn't really work too much in matchday 7 and or 8, which I talked about a few times recently. So, yeah, I think the best course of action for me is to take a -4 with this Mbappe news, buy someone like Guirassy, and this could also be Osimhen as well. I couldn't afford Alvarez with these transfer plans, but yeah, Igor Paxal to Yamal, Guirassy and Bacho looks fairly solid in my opinion. So that's something I'm entertaining. Okay, so I'm going to go through this super chat and then put a poll out. Good to see you, Andres. Hola Dylan, ¿qué piensas? Timber, Pacho, Van de Ven, Dan Burn, Sánchez, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Estevao, Foden, Adeyemi, Haaland, Aubameyang, Guirassy. ¿A quién meterías del Barcelona o Arsenal en cambio? Y Yamal sería el mejor. También me gusta Rafinha en el medio campo. Con Arsenal creo que la defensa es donde quieres poner un poquito de dinero y comprar un jugador de los Gunners. Así que Timber sería bueno para la jornada 6. Creo que a largo plazo Hincapié va a empezar 2 partidos por lo menos. Quizás no contra Inter Milán en la jornada 7, pero contra Kairat Almaty para terminar la fase de grupos. Y también en esta jornada creo que Hincapié va a empezar contra Club Brugge. Así que sí, Hincapié en la defensa y Yamal en el medio campo. Creo que eso te ayudaría mucho. Me gusta los jugadores que tienes, pero sí, algunas dudas que tengo, como Davinson Sánchez, Van de Ven, si le dan una amarilla más, la van a suspender por un partido. Estevao, sus minutos no son muy seguros. Foden y Haaland están jugando contra el Real Madrid, que tiene tantas lesiones, así que quizás no es tan malo. Y Adeyemi no sé si empieza el partido, te digo la verdad. Quizás Adeyemi a Yamal sería muy bueno para vos, pero también no sé cuánto dinero tienes en tu equipo. Y no es necesario comprar un defensor de Arsenal porque ya tienes a Jurrien Timber. Así que para ti creo que comprar a Yamal es la mejor opción y vender a Adeyemi sería ideal en tu caso. Okay, I think there might be another one. Oh yeah, Andres, thank you for sending one earlier as well. I appreciate it. And thanks to all the super chatters. We're very close to reaching the goal. And we still got just under an hour left until we hit the deadline. But yeah, essentially I want to start locking things in. I couldn't tell you for sure if Fermin Lopez is starting. UEFA, for example, in their predicted lineup don't have Fermin Lopez starting. I saw another one that had him starting and then another one which didn't. So I think most would gravitate towards no. And I've got some doubts about Fermin Lopez myself. Will Mendes start? I think he will. He's in the squad, so he's not officially ruled out because he's travelled. I couldn't guarantee it, you know, either way if he's benched or not. In my opinion, he starts. We'll wait and see what happens. Is Timber nailed? Well, he's first choice right back for Arsenal, and he's currently playing in central defence with Saliba coming back from injury. That should be in Matchday 6 against Club Brugge. But I can't say he's nailed now because I talked about this a few times with Arsenal defenders. Kairat Almaty in Matchday 8, that's a great time to play your second string squad, for example. You play Lewis Skelly, Hincapié, Mosquera, who, to be fair, probably won't be back by then. You play Ben White. So Timber could be rested in a game like that. The same goes for Gabriel. So in UCL fantasy terms, I don't think Timber's nailed on right now. No. He will start against Club Brugge and maybe against Inter. But against Kairat Almaty, I think a lot of key Arsenal players will be benched. Hi, Yildiz will start. Well, he wasn't a starter in the previous match day, but he still did well. And that would have been quite handy for me if I didn't Limitless. But I think he will start, yes. And honestly, there are so many doubts about my team now that I'm kind of sick of it. Defensa del Bayern o del PSG. Pacho sería el mejor junto con Nuno Méndez, que está en el equipo. Con Bayern Múnich, creo que Upamecano está bien, pero no me gustan mucho los defensores de Bayern. What do you think of Højlund instead of Guirassy? He scored a brace against Juventus over the weekend, but I still prefer Guirassy. Well, I don't have Elise right now. I'd rather go for Yamal. Especially if Fermin Lopez is benched, I'd want that Barca cover. Osimhen against Guirassy. I think for the next 3 match days overall, Osimhen is better. But for match day 6, I do like Guirassy a lot. Rashford's not guaranteed to be benched, but I don't think he'll start. Grimaldo's not confirmed out. He trained yesterday. And by the way, for people who ask about that, so if a player is flagged with like an orange flag, they're not out. They're only definitively ruled out essentially if they're red flagged or they have the suspension icon. Now, Nuno Mendes has the red flag, but we saw now that he's in the squad. He travelled. So that will be removed very soon. So just bear that in mind. No, I don't think Rashford will start. Yeah, exactly that. The goal has been reached, and I'm going to see what the message was. You like Bacho more than Hincapié? White next free? Yes, I do. Bacho's very good for ball recoveries, better than the other 3 you mentioned, and I think Arsenal could rotate quite a lot. So Ben White will probably start against Club Brugge and Kairat Almaty, but not against Inter Milan. And with Hincapié, kind of similar as well. I don't think he starts against Inter if Gabriel's back by them, and Saliba's also available. But yeah, it's a good question, but I'd rather go for Pacho. That's for sure. Creo que sí. No te puedo garantizar si va a empezar o no, pero en mi opinión, Mbappe no va a jugar. Thank you very much, Awale. And yes, the goal's completed. And also a big up to Afonso. Great videos. Much appreciated, mate. How is Esteval? I liked him as a short-term punt a couple of weeks ago against Karabag and Barcelona, but yeah, he's not really someone I'd be striving to buy. If you got him, there's a case to hold, and you might have bigger fives to put out, but he's not one of my favorite midfielders. I think Rafinha over Yamal, that's fair enough. I just don't think Rafinha's been great this season, mainly because of injuries. And Yamal's been scoring and assisting in virtually most matches. For me, it's going to be Yamal, but I like Rafinha as well. Last season, and I said this from the beginning when Yamal was the template pick in the summer, I was talking about Rafinha from the beginning. He had like 5% ownership, and he turned out to be the best asset in UCL Fantasy last season. But I think this time round, I'd pick Lamine Yamal. ¿Por qué cambiarías a Rashford por 7.7? Uf. Es una pena porque Osimhen cuesta 7.8. Y también Garassi 8 millones, así que... En mi opinión, vale la pena vender a otro, como Dumfries o Gabriel, para Pacho, para nombrar un ejemplo, y con eso puedes comprar a Osimhen o Garassi por Rashford. -4 to bring Gabriel Martinelli in place of McTominay? No, I don't think that's worth it. And there's no guarantee that Martinelli starts. Long-term bringing Kane for Haaland or for Alvarez? I like Haaland for matchday 7 and 8, and to be honest, against Real Madrid, I wouldn't be selling Haaland with all the injuries they've got. Difficult to say. I think both Haaland and Alvarez are great options. Kane is arguably better, but to sell one of them, I certainly wouldn't do it for a hit. And if I had to pick one just to sell, it's probably going to be Alvarez reluctantly. Thank you for the chat. If you do find it again, then let me know. Yeah, there was a question from a member. So make sure to put that again, so I can go for it. Rashford and Mbappe to Garassi and Osimhen, or yeah, that looks good to me. I don't mind that so much. Also Alvarez. I think Barca attackers are quite risky in general. If Mbappe is out, would Vinicius be nailed this match day? I mean, you'd assume so. They do play different positions, even though there are similarities in their game and they like to drift in from the left, but I think Vinicius will start against Man City. Well, Limitless Team was covered in my video yesterday. I did a triple upload, and also I went through it earlier. So this is essentially the sort of Limitless team I would build. If you don't want to go for Nuno Mendes, who is in the squad, by the way, so you can ignore the red flag in this instance, then you can go for a Juve defender. And we can just put an example here. So I think Kalulu could be decent here. That's just one example. I mean, with Yildiz, for example, yeah, I'm not a big fan of him. But he's got a great fixture. He scored against Napoli. And he has a high ceiling, which he showed against Dortmund in matchday 1. He also was quite impressive in the Club World Cup when I covered that fantasy game throughout the summer. But yeah, this could also be Saka as another prime example. So that's essentially the sort of Limitless team I would build. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And I wish I still had the Limitless now to play. It would have solved a lot of problems, to be fair. But it is what it is. So, I'm going to put a poll out. This is the most likely set of transfers I'm going to make. Garassi could be Osimhen. Yamal could be Rafinha. Even Elise would be under consideration. And it doesn't have to be Igor Paxal necessarily to sell instead of Fermin Lopez. So I'm going to put a poll out. Be sure to cast your vote, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Our aim is to get this to over 300 likes. So let's be sure to do that before the end of the live stream. And a big up to all the members, patrons, super chatters, and those that have engaged with the channel over the last couple of years, and also those that are doing so right now. So which player would... Yeah. So this will be Igor Paxal, Fermin Lopez. I think those are really the two options. I can't sell the Galatasaray midfielder, and I don't think I'll sell Yildiz when he's facing Paphos at home. So this will be the first poll, and there's going to be a few over the course of the next 30, 40 minutes. And I'm going to go through the lineups briefly. For Kara Almaty and Olympiakos, you might be tempted by a few players from the Greek side. So those are all confirmed. So Solakis, Ortega, Pirola, Biancone, Rodney, Mosakitis, Hez, Martins, Chiquinho, Pedence, and El Kabi. I think El Kabi could be a decent pun up front. And for those looking for a budget striker, you might want to consider El Kabi actually. But yeah. Also for Matchday 8, when they face Ajax, that looks pretty promising. So that is a decent idea for some of you. And you can also see Kara Almaty's starting 11 as well. That's all confirmed. So I'll leave that up for a little while longer. Why not Vitinha and Limitless instead of Yildiz? Because I've got two PSG defenders, or I did have two PSG defenders yesterday. I would rather double up on PSG defensively than offensively against Athletic Bilbao. Thank you, Dreekun. Thoughts on Carl? I would prefer Carl over Mayulu, but Sporting are a decent side. So Mayulu has the better fixture on paper, but Carl is probably the more appealing asset right now. Is that Josko Gavardio should start? Hi Dylan, do you think Bensabani and Gavardio will start? Gavardio, yes. Bensabani is in the UEFA predicted lineup. I hope he starts, but I'm not entirely convinced. Good to see you, Hugo. How are you, bro? Currently I have 4 injuries. Gabriel, Hakimi, Dumfries, and Mbappe. How many would you transfer out and who? Well, I would transfer out 3 of them, I think, and take a -4 hit. And Mbappe would be one of them, because I believe he won't play tomorrow, based on the reports we saw. That doesn't mean he's definitely ruled out, but it's looking very unlikely. Thinking about Rashford, Mbappe, Hakimi, Dumfries to Alvarez, Kane, Bacho, Timber for a -8. Would you proceed or remove one of those moves? I'd remove the Timber move. I would just stick with Alvarez, Kane, and Bacho. Thank you very much. Oogie Boogie says, I'm using my wildcard. That's good. I wish I still had it. Some long-term planning. Good luck. Yeah, Grimaldo trained yesterday, so you can ignore the flag. He should play. In terms of, yeah, Okabi, for Matchday 6 and 8, he looks decent. You've got Mbappe there, though, and all the reports indicate he won't play. So, yeah, I wouldn't go for Mbappe. Fermin Lopez is a doubt to start, in my opinion. Lewis Skelly, I'll be honest, he has started most games in the Champions League this season. He'll most likely start against Kara Almaty in Matchday 8, but in 6 and 7, I'm not sure if Skelly will start. Because Calafiori suspended in the Premier League against Wolves, it makes a lot of sense for Arteta to rotate a little bit and play Calafiori in the Champions League here. Elise or Yamal captain? Yamal. Hi Dylan, how are you? Yeah, covered. Who's worth a -4? Elise, Yamal, Rafinha, Kane, Yildiz, Guirassy, Kvaratskhelia. I think Yamal, Rafinha, Kane, and Guirassy are worth the -4. I don't think Bensabani will start personally. I hope he does, though. I don't see myself selling him because that would be another hit. Likewise, FPL Kevy, nice reminder, this is that I need to sort my team. Yeah, people say that. Even my friends sometimes, they're like, oh yeah, you're streaming. That reminds me of the deadline, mainly for FPL, though. Do you prefer Rafinha, McTominay, or Vitinha? For this week, it'd be Rafinha. Aubameyang's a quality forward, definitely top 10, and you could argue he's right up there with Guirassy, Osimhen, Alvarez, etc. But yeah, I would prefer the others, to be honest, but Aubameyang has been quality. Fermin Lopez or Kalanoglu out for Yamal? Look, Lopez could start. That's the problem. If he starts, I'm very happy with keeping him. But yeah, the rotation's going to be a big issue now. So that's a bit of a shame. I'm now going to go back to my transfer section here. But I think from these two players, I might actually go for Fermin Lopez out here. Do you think I should go for Kvaratskhelia over Vitinha? On the Limitless, that was one of my suggestions, right? But we saw the big swing last week, or a few weeks ago, and Vitinha scored the hat-trick. He's on penalties. Kvaratskhelia is not the most consistent when it comes to goal contributions, but It's a close one. If you're looking at matchday 7 and 8 as well, I'd probably go for Vitinha. For matchday 6 only, my preference is Kvaratskhelia, just as a 1 week punt, but yeah, we all saw what happened in matchday 5. Yo diría que Osimhen sería un buen reemplazante para Kylian Mbappé. También está Haaland, que siempre va a hacer goles, y sí, hay otros como el Gavi, que juega ahora contra Kara Almaty, pero para mí sería Osimhen. What about choosing Stanisic over Upamecano to save the money? Yeah, that's fine. I just think Upamecano is better for ball recoveries, and Stanisic just doesn't really offer too much in general, but as a cheaper option, it makes sense. If I don't buy Timber, then I'll have 2 injuries in Hakimi and Gabriel. Is it still okay? It's not ideal, but yeah. Being down to 12, 13 players and saving a -4, especially when it's a defender transfer, I think it's the right call. Take a hit on Mbappe -4 to change for Kane then? I think so. That's my opinion and my advice, but you've got to back your own gut there. Some people watching might still think, nah, Mbappe's going to play for sure. And if that's the case, you've got to, reconsider and go for a different path. But I think I'm going to sell Mbappe for a -4 hit here. Yeah. Yeah, Aubameyang, come on, we all like him. Yeah, good to see you, Twister Parky, on a break at work. Well, enjoy it. Hopefully this isn't giving you more stress because, yeah, this deadline is a bit of a madness. Yamal or Rafinha? Yamal. Di Gregorio starting. I'm going to double check that. I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. Okay, so in this predicted lineup by, yeah, I'm just going to have another look and see another one. Yeah, I think he will. So I'll stand corrected there. I think he will start. Will Lenormand play? I think so as well. I covered a probable 11, which was reported by an Atletico Madrid fan page. Yeah, I think Lenormand will start. Mbappe, Gabriel, Dumfries, Hakimi out. Have Kane and Haaland. Getting Guirassy. Any recommendations for the 3 defenders? Should I take a -8 or just 1 hit? Yeah, you don't need to sell Kane or Haaland, obviously, so you keep them. Guirassy and for Mbappe makes sense. For the 3 defenders, you don't need to sell all 3 of them. I think -8. Yeah, 1 hit. I would get Pacho, Van de Ven arguably, but he is a suspension risk, so that is not ideal. But I certainly would buy Pacho and just limit it to a -4. I would not take a -8 if possible. So yeah, I think that would work fairly well. Nuno Mendes is available. Grimaldo was in training yesterday, so some good news there for UCL Fantasy managers. I don't think Adeyemi will start. He'll probably come off the bench, in my opinion. Nuno Mendes is in the squad. He is not out. I think Rashford will be benched, just my opinion, and based on the lineups I've seen. Yamal or Elise? Yamal, which is also referenced in my top 10 captains, which I'm going to go through now, and also clean sheet odds and goal scorer probabilities, because I think that's going to answer some questions in turn. So I'll let this play out. You won't see messages highlighted here, but this poll is very close, and 54% of you have recommended selling Fermin Lopez to Lamine Yamal. So that's interesting. And these are the top 10 captains. You can ignore Mbappe. I think Mendes will start, but that's also not completely secure. And that's something I've delved into throughout the course of this stream. But yeah, you can see here for me, Kane, Guirassy, Yamal, Rafinha, and Elise are my top 5 captaincy choices. You could certainly pick an Alvarez or Osimhen and put them higher up in this list. But I think out of the 2, I'd prefer Osimhen. PSV are in great form and they could cause Atletico Madrid all sorts of problems. So going to go back now to the transfer section and start locking in some moves, because otherwise, yeah, we're going to run out of time. I think we've got, 38 minutes, 37. So I'm going to end this poll, the Fermin Lopez, Igor Paxal one, and I'm going to put another one. But essentially, this is what I'm kind of leaning towards. So I put Osimhen, Guirassy. I think those are the two main ones for me. Osman and Guirassy. Alvarez just doesn't really work. Yeah, I think those are the two. I don't mind El Gabi as a short-term punt. But, yeah, that's what I'm going to go for. Okay. Nuno Mendes and Grimaldo starting? I think so. Grimaldo trained yesterday. Nuno Mendes is in the squad. Gula worth keeping? I'd sell if possible, but you might have other buys to put out. Reece James is in some predicted lineups. I couldn't really guarantee you, though, either way. And Chelsea rotate quite heavily. I think Nemecha will play tomorrow, yeah. Osman or Guirassy? The poll has that up. My current preference is Guirassy, but that's mainly for Matchday 6. If I also consider Matchday 7 and 8, that's where things get very close. I think Nuno Mendes will start. Not really much more I can say. Best mid for 8.5 million. I think Elise would be up there, mainly for Matchday 6. Luis Alexander, ¿crees que está bien tirar un -4? Tengo Dumfries, Mbappé, Rashford. Mejor si coloco a Guirassy, Pacho, Kane y un -4. Y aparte tengo a Gabriel. Si un -4 será bueno, si es posible, es mejor evitar un -8 o más. Así que me gusta las transferencias que dijiste. Dumfries, Mbappé, Rashford por Guirassy, Pacho y Kane. Está muy bien. What do you think, putting Kane or remove Mbappé or Rashford? Well, based on the reports, I don't think Mbappé will play tomorrow. He's more expensive than Rashford, so I'd probably sell Mbappé, unfortunately. If it wasn't for this update that we got today, I would have said sell Rashford without any hesitation. Christian says, tengo un espacio, Dylan. Voy a vender a Mbappé porque quizás no juegue y meter a Guirassy. Pero no sé si Kvaratskhelia, Yamal, Vitinha o Rafinha. Para mí, Yamal es el mejor o la mejor opción de todos. Foden or Vitinha? I prefer Vitinha. Timber, Hincapié or Calafuri for this match day? For this match day, I think all of them will start, but probably Timber. Is Kane a good captain? Yeah, of course he is. Hincapié and Grimaldo, Højlund, or shall I downgrade one of the defenders to go for Guirassy or Alvarez? I would consider like Grimaldo to Van de Ven and then use that to do Højlund to Guirassy. I think that's probably better. I'm going to go for Pacho, I think, over Mendes, because Mendes is one yellow card away from suspension. He's injured out still, despite being in the squad. They might kind of ease him back in. There's no real need to rush him. Cucurella or Upamecano for this round? Thanks, Dylan. For this round, Upamecano. Quiero cambiar a Kylian por Osimhen, pero tendría un -8. ¿Vale la pena? No me gusta mucho, pero creo que vale la pena de hacer una transferencia y sería un -4. Obviamente, si ya existe un -4, es un -8 en total, pero sí, creo que sí. Well, I already showed you the predicted lineups. I'm not going to go through them again because that was quite extensive. I listed the players who are doubtful, injured, and suspension risks. And that's just UEFA. I mean, there's also other lineups I went through, like from Kicker for Bayern Munich and Sporting, and you can all find them, you know, by rewinding the stream. But yeah, it's not gospel. Some things will be wrong, and you get some surprises like the Mbappe news from earlier today. Will Marino play against Club Brugge? Good question. I think so. He is currently first choice up front for Arsenal, but Vic Gyökeres is available. There's also the Wolves game of the weekend, and that's arguably more important than the Club Brugge match. Hi, mate. My risky players are Burn, Benzabani, Fermi Lopez, and Mbappe. 2 free transfers, but willing to go -4. Which free player should I transfer out? In my opinion, it would be Mbappe. Probably Fermi Lopez, and then, yeah, it's one defender. I mean, UEFA have got Benzabani in the lineup, and no Dan Burn. So difficult to say, really. But, yeah, we are not in a great position right now. I would consider selling Burn, but ultimately Benzabani is going to be a sell anyway in Matchday 7 because he's heading off to the African Cup of Nations. Thanks, Dylan, for the Mbappe news. My candidate is Aubameyang. Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned Aubameyang today, and yeah, I think he's a promising option. He's been very impressive this season, and Marseille have some good attackers. They did lose 1-0 to Lille over the weekend, but yeah, they've got a lot of attacking threat in their front line with Aubameyang, Greenwood, and Igor Paxal. So yeah, with the Mbappe news, it's a shame. I found out shortly before starting this stream, and I was preparing the graphics and stuff, having everything set, and then yeah, the Mbappe news kind of dropped like a bombshell. So it is what it is, right? We have to adapt. Why not sell Gabriel? Well, because it's another -4 hit, -8 in total, and I'm not a big fan of the other defenders. I mean, because I've got a few rotation risks in my defensive line, you could argue it's worth it, so I can at least have a full starting 11 guaranteed, but I don't like taking a -8, including 2 defender transfers. It doesn't seem right to me. Hey Dylan, using the Limitless, would you remove Mbappe for Aubameyang? Already have Osimhen and Haaland. I prefer Kane. I mean, you've got Haaland and Osimhen, that's fair enough, but I would go for Kane on the Limitless. There's also Guirassy, who you're missing out on, in my opinion, but you can't have them all. Chevalier is out. He's not in the squad. Rashford to Guirassy or Fermin to Yamal? I'd do Rashford to Guirassy. Does Limitless cancel transfers cost already accrued for the week? Yes, it does. And it also means your transfers don't go through. Don't you prefer Julian Alvarez over Guirassy for the remainder of the league phase? I can't afford him with these transfers, but for Matchday 7 and 8 as well, yes. But for Matchday 6, I think Guirassy is the clear winner. And once again, I've got 0.5 in the bank. Alvarez is like over 9 million, so I can't afford him. I would be 0.4 million off, so that would require, well, just selling maybe Fermin Lopez. I think I'd just be 0.1 million away from getting Yamal. That's the problem with this. So yeah, I do like Alvarez against Galatasaray and Bodo Glimt. But yeah, I think Osimhen would be another shout. As I mentioned before, you can see him in the poll as well. I mean, there is Atletico Madrid and Man City, to be fair, but I think he is capable of scoring against those teams as well. I think Guirassy would be the one for me. And then it's one of Paxal or Fermin Lopez making way for Yamal, if I really want to push that. Yeah, I'm just in a bit of bother this week in terms of the problems. I mean, if you just kind of get rid of the injured players per se, then yeah, I can just go for any defender I want. And this could be Nuno Mendes still. I can go for Van der Ven. That could all work very well. But yeah, I just want that sort of higher ceiling from a Lamine Yamal. I think he'd be a great option for me this week. So in this poll, Guirassy's winning quite comfortably. And that makes sense. I think the fixtures for Guirassy, which aren't great in 7 and 8, they still look more appealing than what Osimhen has. So we have just under half an hour left. Be sure to lock in your teams, have everything set. So that would be Gabriel. Yeah. To Van der Ven. Okay, so Gabriel to Van der Ven. And then one of Fermin Lopez or Paxal to Yamal. I think that's probably what it comes down to for me. And I'm going to try lock in as soon as possible. Yeah, drop a like if you haven't done so already. We've got a lot of people watching. Let's get the likes up to 300 plus. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We've made a lot of strides actually over the last couple of weeks, and we're pushing towards 38,000 on YouTube. There's my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and there are many ways of engaging with the content. You can also find me on Reddit and all these social media platforms, so be sure to have a look. And yeah, keep the conversation going. I've been talking to some of you on Instagram and all these different social media outlets, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. and having a lot of different ideas, also informing each other. For example, the Mbappe news, which, yeah, kind of was dropped on us this morning. So, yeah, some other things to think about as well. Rice is not in training. Wow, yeah, Gutierrez is injured as well. A lot of things to think about. McTominay apparently felt a discomfort. So many things to think about. So Tell is back for Tottenham and Solanke is out. Yeah, no Trossard or Rice for Arsenal. And no Saliba in training either. So Arsenal are just down to the bare bones right now at this point. So let's see this one. There's a Dortmund predicted lineup and Ben Sebaini is in there. Yes, come on. I need everyone I can get, man, because we are in a bad position. Yeah, Guirassi's in that lineup. Nona Mecha, and to be fair, he wasn't in this lineup either, the predicted one, and he still started in match day 5. And there's no Adeyemi. As for Juventus, Yildiz is in this lineup that I've seen here. Okay. And yeah, for Atletico, I mean, there are some conflicting reports, but I think Lenormand will start. Alvarez obviously being the best option of them all. So yeah, I'm going to put this poll out. But I am still trying to find alternatives, you know, other things I could do. I mean, yeah, I think that would also work fairly well. Plus Alvarez. And then this would be Guirassy. So yeah. I think that's what it kind of comes down to for me. I think this is pretty much how it would go. Let's see if I can... So that would be... Yeah. Okay. So I will be locking in fairly soon and then focusing on your questions for the rest of it. I mean, for the first hour or so, I've been literally focusing on all the updates and also your questions. Yes, we do have 25 minutes left, Awali. So yeah, Svensson is not playing. I didn't see him in some of these predicted lineups, to be fair. That is true. There's so much. Yeah, just to kind of bring up this update again, which someone relayed earlier in the stream. Let's go to this. So according to L'Equipe, yeah, Mbappe is very unlikely to play against Man City. He feels significant pain in the knee after a strong knock against Celta. That's according to L'Equipe. So a big up to everyone who, you know, provided updates and stuff. You can see here the Bayern Munich predicted lineup. No real surprises in here. All of the problems that Real Madrid have. And Camavinga is out. That is confirmed now. With PSG, Chevalier is not in the squad, but Nuno Mendes is. And there is a chance he starts against Athletic Bilbao. And for Inter Milan, this is the probable 11, according to Sky Sports Italia, who have been very reliable when it comes to Inter Milan lineups over the years. So yeah, there's a lot to digest here. You know, even McTominay felt discomfort. I just said that a few minutes ago, and yeah, there are many different things here at play. Let's see if there is an update on McTominay here. Okay, I'm going to bring up this McTominay update as well, so you can see. So there's a concern over McTominay's condition as he felt discomfort in his abductors against Juventus, but still completed the match. McTominay will be managed in a way that allows him to be in the best possible condition. The Scottish international will lead Napoli's midfield in Lisbon. Okay, so there you go. But yeah, not exactly what you want to hear. A lot of doubts, rotation and stuff flying around in matchday 6. So yeah, going back to my transfers and sort of kind of fine-tuning this. Yeah, they would both be for a -4. Okay. So I'm going to put this poll out now. So Gabriel to Van der Ven, and that would mean Yamal and Alvarez. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. That would be the correct way of doing this poll. Okay, wildcard draft. I mean, it was covered in my wildcard video yesterday, but... Okay, this would be the Limitless. I would build something like this. I'm pretty happy with this, to be fair. I mean, with Svensson... Let's see if he even is predicted to start. Yeah, he's not in a few predicted lineups I've seen. So I'm not even sure about Svensson. So I'm going to change that. Let's get rid of Svensson and put Bensabani. Didn't expect to include him in a Limitless squad, but that could work. So that looks pretty promising. With the wild card, if possible, I'd go for Ryan Carnesecchi. I think that's the best goalkeeper duo. I would sell Gabriel and Dumfries, obviously. Bensabani, no, because in matchday 7 and 8, he won't be available. Yeah, Dan Burn, I think you'd probably go for Chow instead. So I would also probably get rid of everyone here. It's kind of crazy. Get rid of Mbappe. Maybe keep Haaland. So I think with this one, I'd go for Guirassy up front. In the midfield, Vitinha. I wouldn't mind Szoboszlai. McTominay would have been in here, and also Nemecha, but there are doubts, obviously, over McTominay's minutes and Nemecha starting. So, yeah, we've got a lot to contend with here. I'd probably go for Yildiz, but he has been awful since matchday 1. And then again, he got that big return in 5, but I didn't have him because I limitlessed like a fool. So, that looks okay. Then possibly, yeah, I think Yamal has to be in there. So, Barca attacker. Then defensively, yeah, Bacho would be one of the first names in here. Van der Ven, he has a suspension risk though, bear that in mind. And then to complete this, possibly Chow, maybe Grimaldo, and then we've got 5 million left to complete this sort of rough wildcard squad, the updated version. You could go for Timber, and I think you'll start in 6 and 7, but not against Kara Almaty in 8. I don't think you'll start. But remember, for matchday 8, you only need a starting 11. You don't need a 50-man squad. So that's the good thing about it. You can only pick one captain, and yeah, it's all about your lineup, and that's it. It will be similar to FPL from that perspective. No changes, no micromanagement. So, yeah, get rid of Cucurella. I don't want him. That's what I mean with defenders, and why I'm not that keen on taking like a hit involving 2 defender transfers. So I might keep one of Gabriel Dumfries for a few more weeks, which doesn't look great. But I think for the last defender, for now, I'm just going to go for Timber. That looks pretty good. I mean, that fills up my budget. I've got enough money to build this squad. I think that looks fairly decent, but just bear in mind there are still some concerns with McTominay, even Van der Ven with the yellow card risk and stuff like that. So there you go. That's a rough wildcard draft. And let's go through the member questions. So let's see. Hey Dylan, best Fermi Lopez replacement. No money concerns. Already have Yamal, Elise, Paxao, and Yilmaz. I do like Saka, but there is an element of rotation risk there. But yeah, you've already got 2 of my favourite midfielders to replace him at no sort of like, with no budget restrictions. I'd include Saka's name in the hat. I think Vitinha or Kvaratskhelia would be very good as well. I'd probably go for a PSG midfielder. Worth a -4 to replace Bensabani? I don't think so. And in most lineups I've seen, Bensabani is starting. And hopefully he does. -4, says Twisted Parky. Priorities Mbappe Dumfries, then a -4. Yeah, I think that's right. I'm also in the same boat. Mbappe Dumfries will be the ones to, get rid of. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think -4 is the way to go for you, and a lot of people who are in the chat now. David, Alvarez, or Osman? I think, considering 7 and 8, I'd go for Alvarez. Garassi's not playing. I don't know why you saw that. Don't you prefer Upamecano over Van der Ven? Sporting left all their attack in Lisbon. Yeah, Upamecano's not a bad idea, to be fair. I think on the wild card that could work fairly well. I just think Spurs this week have a better chance of a clean sheet, but yeah, that's a decent suggestion. Yeah, it's definitely one to look at. I think Bayern could keep a clean sheet here, but Sporting have been solid over the last 10. David or El Kabi? That's a close one. I would lean towards El Kabi, but yeah, Jonathan David's another underrated player or option for UCL Fantasy, just like Aubameyang, who I would rank higher than David. Anton should start, in my opinion. Elise or Foden? Elise. Well, it's team dependent, right? But if you limitless now, you won't be able to make any transfers to like sell Dumfries and Gabriel, and that was my problem, of course. That's why I still have them. And then you get Matchday 7 and 8 happen in quick succession within a week of each other. So I'll be honest, I think it's probably best to limitless now and then use transfers in 7 and 8 to kind of, yeah, kill two birds with one stone, let's say, because they're going to be more similar compared to Matchday 6. Well, because Fermi Lopez is not guaranteed to start. A lot of predicted lineups don't have Fermi Lopez starting. He just came off the back of an injury as well. My captain for today will be Harry Kane. What do you think of Aubameyang? I've talked about him a lot today, and I think he's underrated. He's done very well this season, but I do rank Garassi and a few others a bit higher, but I certainly have no problems with Aubameyang. I mean, he could be another great differential. He's also a bit cheaper, so he does cost 7-ish million. 6.8, I mean, that's really good. You look at the fixtures as well. Even Liverpool at home isn't bad. His record against Liverpool isn't great in general, but he has scored a few times against them. And yeah, Club Brugge away is okay. Even this one against Union Saint-Gilloise. Yeah, I think Aubameyang is fixture-proof as well. You look at his returns this season. Very high ceiling. Yeah, I do like Aubameyang. 5% ownership as well. But I'll be honest with you, I think I'm just going to go for Garassi. So that's the wildcard team that you see on screen now. Sort of a rough one. This is the limitless squad right now. I've got no chips remaining, and I'm looking at doing something like this. So yeah, Yamal Garassi, that is what people are suggesting, which is fair enough. I think that's got the highest ceiling. So I will keep, I think, Gabriel and possibly sell Dumfries to Pacho. So yeah, then it comes down to Fermi Lopez or Paxao. I'm probably going to sell Fermi Lopez. But what I want to do before locking in these transfers is see the predicted lineup or another one for Barcelona. And then I can make my mind up and fully commit to it. And also, before I forget, let's captain Kane. So yeah, I'm not going to captain Haaland today. And in terms of the balance of the Tuesday and the Wednesday, so I've got Carnesecchi playing now, Raya tomorrow. I've got Gusto as my only defender playing on the Tuesday. Then I've got Yamal, Igor Paxao, Yilmaz, and Kane. So I've got 6 Tuesday players and 9 on the Wednesday. I think a lot of you will have a similar situation where you'll have more Wednesday than Tuesday players. Whilst it's not ideal, it's not the end of the world, and you still want to prioritize the players you believe will get the most UCL fantasy points. So yeah, I think Pacho, Yamal, Garassi coming in for a -4 is the way to go for me. I could take another hit and sell Gabriel, but I'll be honest, I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. And I can just deal with him in Matchday 7, and by that stage, he should be available, right? So I'm just going to be down to 14 players and hope that most of these will start and give me the best possible chance of doing well in Matchday 6. So yeah, I think I agree with the community here. I think this is the best course of action. And before I lock these transfers in, I want to see the Barca lineup one more time. There is one here that does have Fermi Lopez starting. Going to check another one. Yeah. Fermi Lopez. Let's see. This will be another one, and yeah, they do have him starting alongside Yamal and Rafinha. So yeah, Igor Paxal could be the one I end up selling instead of Fermi Lopez. And the other one, let's see if I can get... Well, this is from a Barca fan page, Barca Universal. We'll see what they've got. Okay, yeah, a lot of these lineups do have Fermi Lopez starting. And some of them had something a bit different previously. They have changed it. So that might also change the play I sell. So I might keep Fermi Lopez and go for Lamine Yamal. And just go for that high ceiling. I think it's worth the -4, even if Igor Paxal does something this week. Yeah. In an ideal world, I would have kept Igor Paxal and sold Yilmaz and done this. But I can't afford it unless I do El Kabi in for Guirassy or something along those lines. I could also... I could maybe consider something a bit different, like a Aubameyang. I mean, that looks pretty good as well. So I think that's what it really comes down to. So yeah, this will be my last poll, and then it's going to be back to your questions, but I do want to lock in and make sure that your bench and stuff is all ordered. Make sure that all your Tuesday players are in your starting 11, as I always try to remind you. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think Burn will start at the moment, but I don't think it's worth selling him. Well, because Rafinha has been suffering with injuries all season, and Yamal's been so consistent, getting goals and assists in virtually every single game. Nuno Mendes is in the squad, so he's not injured. He's coming off the back of an injury, but he is not unavailable. He's actually going to be in the squad. Okay, so... So this will be Yilmaz to... Let's see... So we do have 10 minutes left. Let's lock things in and enjoy the ride. So Yilmaz to Yamal. And then it would be Aubameyang. And then this would be Igor Paxal to Yamal and Guirassy. I think that's what it really comes down to for me. Either sell Yilmaz or Igor Paxal, and then it changes the striker I get. So yeah, appreciate all the suggestions, all the comments and stuff. I'm going to go through the members and then lock in my team. Thank you to Junaid for becoming a differential. And yeah, you got a nice level there. Nice little badge. So if you've got any questions, let me know. Marakichu says, whom should I buy to replace Mbappe? Kane, Osimhen or Guirassy? I would go for Kane. And I do like the others, but Kane is still the best one. Keep Fermi Lopez or sell to Vitinha for a -4. I would keep Fermi Lopez. Yeah. Thank you, Haribo, for the super chat. Apologies for not seeing it earlier. Sportsmall has Fermi Lopez starting. Yeah. I also checked SofaScore, Flash Score. I checked Barca websites. UEFA don't have Fermi Lopez starting, but yeah, I think there is space for him in there. And they could, you know, drop one of Ferran Torres or Lewandowski, who are both in the UEFA predicted lineup. I don't think they'll both start together. So yeah, because of that, I'm quite open to keeping Fermi Lopez, who has been outstanding for me. I don't think Svensson will play based on the lineups I've seen, but obviously going into Matchday 6 a few days ago, I thought he would. Would you prioritize Gabriel or Rashford out for a hit? Already did Denzel to Bacho and Mbappe to Haaland. Probably the forward transfer, because I don't think Mbappe will start tomorrow, and you've got a higher ceiling by replacing him with a forward. Now, by the time you get to Matchday 7, you might want to get Mbappe back, so that's the problem with it. But I think for Matchday 6, it makes a lot of sense to sell him, even for a hit. There's nothing up with Burn, but Newcastle have a lot more options now. So, yeah, they can play Livramento and Hall as the fullbacks. They've got Chow, Cher, and a few other centre-backs, but Hopefully Dan Burn starts. He's been very consistent. He usually starts for Newcastle. Eddie Howe loves him. -8 for Yamal, Osman, Kane. I like the players you're bringing in, but what's the context? Are you selling Dumfries, Gabriel, and Mbappe? But in terms of the transfers in isolation, I do like them, yes. Grimaldo trained yesterday. I think he will play. With Fermín Lopez, I'm quite conflicted, but I'd lean towards him starting, which is why I'm probably going to sell one of Yilmaz or Igor Paxal. Yeah, Mendes is flagged, but he's in the squad, which I covered earlier, so you can ignore the flag in that case, which I talked about earlier. With Mbappe, I've said everything that needs to be said. All the information that we've got, I relay to you. He didn't train. He's a major doubt. L'Equipe, for example, who are very reliable, they say it's very unlikely he's going to play tomorrow. I think Nuno Mendes will start. It's not a guarantee. Seinof will stay goalkeeper for how long? Probably just match day 6. I think Chevalier comes back in for match day 7. There is a big gap between both match days in UCL Fantasy. So this will be the final deadline stream and the final piece of content for the Champions League this year. And yeah, match day 7 will take place in January. So there's going to be a few weeks in between. Essentially, yeah, it's going to be a mini break. And there's a lot that can change in that time. Is Mendes to Pacho -4 worth it? I wouldn't do that. And I think Mendes will start for what it's worth. Just my opinion. He is in the squad. Elise or Rafinha if I already have Yamal? I'd still lean towards Rafinha. It's a nice differential to have two Barca attackers, and I could do that with Fermín Lopez and Yamal myself. But yeah, I'd lean towards Rafinha. Any Juve rotation? Well, there might be the odd lineup that has Yildiz on the bench. I don't think that'll be the case. I believe Yildiz will start. So, yeah, Cambiasso should start as well, but who knows at this point. Yeah, I changed the captain. Harry Kane is my captain. That was already saved. Bensabani had some injury problems recently, so they were managing him, but he should start in match day 6 according to multiple sources. He is going off to AFCON though, so for match day 7 and 8, he won't really be a factor. Dylan, if I take a -4, how many points do you think the player I bring in should return for it to be worth it? Well, if he can even give you, well, 5 points, you're going to gain something from it, right? But with the question of substitutions, this becomes a bit of a great question. There's no clear right or wrong answer, but yeah, if he can get 8+ points, you'd be very happy with that, to be fair. And if it's a double-digit return, then you've definitely nailed it. Alvarez or Aubameyang? For this match day, Aubameyang. For the next 3 match days in total, I like Alvarez probably the most, which is why I talked about him in my wildcard video. I already know that, mate. I literally changed it a few minutes ago. What you see on screen is from earlier. So, yeah, don't worry about that. You're going to see it once I make my transfers. But, yeah, I'm going to do Garassian. And I'm going to keep Yilmaz. The last thing I will check, though, is if Yilmaz is going to start. But, yeah, that looks fairly promising. I think he should. Hopefully he can actually do something for me because he has been quite underwhelming. So for those that haven't done so already, drop a like, subscribe. Let's get this stream to over 300 likes. It'd be massively appreciated. And I've been answering questions, providing updates all stream. And yeah, now it's time to lock things in. There might have been a super chat or two, which I'm going to go through in a second. And also new memberships. So a big up to Falcon there for gifting 5 memberships. That means you'll gain early access to my videos, proud to comments, and many other perks. I'll be going through the 5 lucky new members soon. And obviously a big up to Junaid once again and all the super chatters. But yeah, I think Yilmaz is going to start. So yeah, there we go. Just one last quick look. Yeah, okay, my transfers are going to be locked in here. So Bacho, Yamal, and Garassi in for a -4. And I would be selling Mbappe, Igor Paxal, and Dumfries. So I would keep Gabriel here for match day 7 and 8. I could afford... Actually, I couldn't. I couldn't afford selling Gabriel instead. So yeah, this speaks for itself. No need to complicate it. And now let's lock things in. So for some reason, even though here I captain Kane, Yeah, I need to do it again. So Kane captain. Let's also order the bench in the right way. So Karnesechi needs to be in the starting 11. And let's also, yeah, just keep the rest as it is. I mean, Gabriel, yeah, doesn't really matter here. He's going to be last on the bench, just in case. That looks pretty solid. Yeah, I'm down to 14 players despite taking a -4 hit. But it's not too shabby. And when it comes to the Wednesday captain, it will be Guirassy. So I'm covering the two best options, in my opinion, for Matchday 6 with Kane and Guirassy. And I'm fairly happy with it. I mean, there is a debate, of course, with Yamal. Could I captain him over Kane? That is certainly a debate, and I'm open to it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with what I've picked. Let's end this poll. And make sure, no matter what you do, do not captain a Wednesday player. Captain a Tuesday player first, and then you can change it. So Tuesday captain, I'm going to put Yamal and Kane. Those are going to be my two top options. You saw my Campsy list as well. Let's see what the people vote. Dembele or Guirassy? Dembele's ill. He's not going to play. It's Guirassy by default. Thank you, Nahal. As he says, smash the like. We are closing in on the deadline. Mbappe to Kane for a -4. Yes. Good luck as well, Nada. I read Saka will not play. I'm not sure where you read that, but it wouldn't completely surprise me, to be fair. Yeah, Rafinha's a great option. If you are on the limitless, I'd highly recommend that. I don't think Rashford starts, but yeah, you might have other fires to put out. Agree with you, don't captain Yamal over Kane. Wow, this is a one-sided poll. I did not expect this. But either way, I've got Guirassy tomorrow, so I'm not that... I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm not that worried about it, let's say. Why pack Sal out? Well, to fund Yamal. You know, to get a -4 in. I think Fermin Lopez will start. Hopefully that's the case. And yeah, we've literally got seconds to go. Yeah, we're pretty much locked in. Captain Aubameyang or Rafinha? Rafinha. I agree with Mohamed there. Good option. Why pack Sal out? Covered. El Kabi for Mbappe? Done. 500 in the WOD. Fuck it. Good luck. That's a great rank, and I like El Kabi for matchday 6 and 8. Kane or Elise captain? Kane. Hincapié over Timber? I think so personally, but for matchday 7 against Inter, I think Timber starts and Hincapié won't. Szoboszlai or Elise? Elise. GG as well. Gusto against Chalobah? Chalobah's a bit more nailed on in the grand scheme of things, but I think with all Chelsea options, you are going to get some rotation there. Even Sanchez isn't completely safe, particularly in the Champions League, but I am going to say probably Chalobah. Think I've underestimated Kairat. Well, we'll wait and see, right? Olympiacos are the better team. I like El Kabi for this week. I've got Mayulu. Hopefully he can score. Decent option. Not my favourite, but I think he offers some potential. Go on El Kabi captain. Wish me luck. Well, it's a big differential, and I always tell people if you want to go for something a bit different, you can do so on the Tuesday for sure, especially if you've got a solid option like Guirassy waiting for you on the Wednesday just in case. Yeah, Yamal is a good captain. He was in my top 5, as you saw my Campsy list. Wilderness Kid says Yamal for the vibes. Sometimes vibes is all well and good and a lot of fun, but we do want some UCL fantasy points, which, to be fair, Yamal will hopefully bring us. Locked in as well, Arnab? Yes. Locked in and good luck, Dylan. Decided to sell Mbappe and Fermin Lopez to Guirassy and Yamal. Hope it goes well. Do you think Mendes starts tomorrow? Yeah, I think he does start. And should I bring him into my 11? Yes, and we could even get an update before the PSG game tomorrow and before the substitution window closes on Wednesday. Wednesday captain would have to be Haaland for me. Not happy. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's one of the benefits of bringing in Guirassy, but I'll be honest, with Madrid's injuries, I think Haaland and City could feast a little bit, but it should be a high-scoring game regardless. Yes, the team is locked and the game has started. Locked indeed. Thank you, Tunaru. Thanks, Dylan, again for the lovely content. Much appreciated. This is the last UCL Fantasy Deadline stream of the year, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to support the channel, like, subscribe, hype, share this video around, comment, keep the conversation going. I do appreciate it. Yeah, no worries about that, though. And once again, Aubameyang is a great differential, really low ownership, fantastic form, and yeah, you've got the Wednesday option. Maybe it's a Haaland or Guirassy to fall back on if needed. Good luck as well to Gods V1. Cheers, Dylan, and good luck, everyone. Likewise, Harrison James, always a pleasure. A lot of people with Aubameyang captain, or at least with Aubameyang in the squad. That's interesting. Had other fires to put out, ended up keeping Gabriel and Trippier, but they should be back for matchday 7. Yeah, exactly that. It's not ideal, but yeah, Gabriel is pretty decent. I'll be honest though, I don't think he'll start in matchday 8 against Kara Almaty. I think that's where Hincapié would be the starter, and Arsenal go for a second string side. You know, they could play Marino up top, Ben White on the right, Lewis Skelly on the left, and it depends on the injury situation, of course, but they could still play a very strong squad and win comprehensively against Kara Almaty. It is a different story, though, against Inter Milan. Best of luck as well, Arnab. Thank you, Falcon. Thanks, Dylan. Best channel on UCL Fantasy by far. My kids love your content. Well, that's very flattering. I appreciate it. And hopefully you do really well and keep on enjoying UCL Fantasy as a whole. So thank you very much. Good luck, everyone, says Giuseppe. The same goes to you. Good option to use the Limitless next game week. Yeah, I think matchday 7 is the best time to use it now. I would not use it matchday 8 because people who wildcard or who are in a strong position and they can cheap out their bench, they can essentially match people on the Limitless in matchday 8 because you can't make substitutions. Everyone plays at the same time. Fernandes helped that 0.15% change green arrow. Yeah, Fernandes was amazing yesterday and he increased my green arrow. So I'm near the top 100k now in FPL. So things have been going very well recently in Fantasy Premier League. Long may it continue. And the wildcard is active. I'll be talking about that in my upcoming podcasts. There'll be a best wildcard squad and my team selection and also a transfer tips in between. Good luck as well, Versta. Always a pleasure talking to you on Twitter and YouTube. Thank you, Nada. I had the website open on 2 pages and my transfers didn't go through. Things like this make me want to quit. Yeah, I get that. I mean, for example, if you look here. Okay, now it's actually refreshed on every page. That's good. But sometimes I have that same sort of issue where it still shows me like the old team that I had. And that can be very frustrating. So I'm just going to close these tabs here. They're not needed anymore. But yeah, this game is still goalless at the moment. And I should go back to this screen, by the way. And yeah, there we go. So yeah, no goals so far, but it's only just started. I should be a bit patient. I think by the time we did one of these streams and it was Kara Almaty against Real Madrid, yeah, Mbappe already scored a brace by the point I ended my stream. So yeah, he was on a mad one that day and against Olympiacos, but yeah, now I sold him for a -4, something I never thought I'd do this season. Went with Guirassy and 13 players over a 14th. Need the best captains. Yeah, I did something similar. I'm down to 14, and it could be worse if some players are benched, but I'm hoping for the best, and that's all we can do at this point. Who should I sell Nuno for? He's in the squad. I think he'll start, but yeah, personally, I wouldn't have sold him. And there aren't too many standout defenders. I think Bacho's the best one, or just any PSG defender like Marquinhos, but yeah, the Ecuadorian's probably the one I'd lean towards. Cheers as well, Serhat. Tonaru says, my team, Karnisechi, Milinkovic-Savic, Rodney, Timber, Romero, Bensabani, Bacho, Vitinha, Yamal, Yildiz, Pepe, Elise, Kane, Aubameyang, Haaland. Looks very solid. Pepe's interesting. Hopefully he can produce for you against Copenhagen. And despite my concerns initially of Bensabani, for example, I think he should start based on all the lineups we've seen. And you're in a good position. Karnisechi, Milinkovic-Savic offers great value, but their fixtures aren't great for matchday 6. But yeah, I think that is a good platform for the rest of the league phase. Thank you, Wally. As he says, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and there are many different ways of engaging. We've got 238 likes. Let's get to 250 plus before the end of the stream. Let's also go to the other messages. Thanks, Dylan. I had a topic question. Do I buy Bruno now in FPL or give Mbumo another week? I'd probably buy Bruno now. Mbumo could make way because of the African Cup of Nations in 16 anyway. So yeah, it's not a bad time to sell him. But I get your question. I mean, Mbumo was the flavour of the month back in September and October. But Fernandes now, he's going to be there constantly for United. He's on penalties. He got that massive return yesterday. He's got the assist potential, set pieces. I think Fernandes is not essential, but he's one of the very best players to have over Christmas alongside Erling Haaland. Sampa says Greenwood hat-trick incoming. I don't think so, but we'll wait and see. If they were going to have a game this early, wish they would put on Wednesday. Yeah, but the scheduling is what the scheduling is, right? And we've never really had something like this before, but something a little bit different at least, and it added to the chaos, especially with the Mbappe news. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of it, to be fair, and I am kind of used to these 5:45 p.m. UK deadline times, and also in the knockout stages it'll be 8 p.m, so that'll be a bit different. Didn't buy Aubameyang because I have Paxao on my team. That makes sense, and they will face Liverpool in Matchday 7, which isn't bad, to be fair, and also Club Brugge in Matchday 8. They aren't the easiest of teams to play against. Good luck as well, Juan, and also to Weiseng for a Rashford goal off the bench. It's possible. I mean, Yildiz did so well in Matchday 5. No goal, but he got a few assists and the Player of the Match award. Yeah, that was not nice. Good luck as well, user. Since I fell asleep last Matchday during deadline, I forgot to do 2 transfers, but I have 3 transfers, not 4. Yeah, that's nothing new. I've always said this. I covered it in my How to Play UCL Fantasy video, even my chip strategy guide. You can only roll transfers in the league phase, and the maximum you can hold is free. So you get 2 transfers per match day. If you don't make a transfer, you get free in the following game week, but you can never get 4. I got Kane for Mbappe, Yamal for Gordon, and Batcher for Dumfries. Looks good. I did something similar. In fact, I made the exact same transfers in as you, and I sold Mbappe and Dumfries as well. What up, Dylan? Do you think Arsenal will win the Premier League? Last 3 games, only 1 win. Best regards and happy holidays. Well, hard to have a happy holiday if you drop a bombshell like that on me. But yeah, it's still early. I said this when Arsenal were 18 games unbeaten, when they just beat Tottenham and Bayern Munich in quick succession. But yeah, I think when you look at the last 3 away games, no wins, last-minute daggers against Sunderland and Aston Villa, costing 3 points overall, not capitalising on Chelsea's red card. Those are missed opportunities, and Arsenal have done well to be in the position they are in the Champions League and also in the Premier League with all the injuries and stuff, but there is a lack of cutting edge in the team, and they rely a lot on their solid defending. Once, you get at them a little bit, like Aston Villa did, there are some holes in there, which is why, despite how well Arsenal started, I didn't think they'd break the Chelsea record of 15 goals conceded, which, look, it's still possible, but just very unlikely at this point. And yeah, Arsenal are conceding 1 or 2 goals now every single game, and that's not really the solid side we saw at the beginning of the campaign. But yes, Arsenal can definitely win the Premier League, and they can also win the FA Cup, and they can also win the Champions League, but I think realistically they're not going to win multiple trophies in one, not like 3 or 4, as much as I'd like them to do so. And whilst it's not impossible, yeah, I think Arsenal might need to prioritise, unfortunately. Despite having a strong squad, the injuries have kind of nullified that a little bit. So yeah, some players are overplaying now, like Ben White, for example. We saw Gabriel as well. I mean, some of them are very unfortunate the way they've happened, but all Arteta and Arsenal can do is adapt and find solutions. Best of luck, Dylan. Got on late, but dealt with all the injuries, hoping to get a lot of green arrows for me, and everyone has GGs. Likewise to you, mate. Thank you very much, and yeah, a big up to everyone who joined in, even if it was late, whatever it is. I know everyone has their own stuff going on, work and, school, whatever it is. So I do appreciate people tuning in and asking questions, engaging in the conversation, and you're one of them. Yeah, for me, it's more fun to play UCL Fantasy, and I've said this for years now. It's not something I've just said now. It's something I've been very consistent about. I enjoy FPL, but there are things about UCL Fantasy like ball recoveries, the Player of the Match awards, and also the micromanagement, which I prefer over FPL. I triple captain Bruno, so happy. That's incredible. That's a fantastic triple captain. I was happy with my Erling Haaland back in Game Week 6, but this obviously tops it a little bit. And yeah, the fact he was a differential per se, because I think his effective ownership for me at around my rank was like, what, 26%? Nah, surely that can't be right. I saw it like yesterday. I need to have another look, but yeah, Bruno Fernandes has been very impressive recently. A few disappointments here and there, but I think that massive return against Wolves will it will buy him some credit. Let's put it that way. Bruno and Saka pissing me off. They always haul the week after I captain them. Yeah, that can be very frustrating. In terms of captaining those players, it is a bit difficult. So a few years ago, we had Palmer, and we knew we could rely on him for the captaincy quite often. Salah last season. Haaland typically is a reliable captain, but yeah, I think Bruno and Saka are a bit... They're consistent, but in terms of the massive hauls, it's so difficult to get on at the right time, like Ellis Coyle did. Where do you live, Dylan? I live in the UK. Yes. Who the heck got the nice idea to start 2 hours before normal? Well, it's because the first match takes place between Kara Almaty and Olympiakos in Kazakhstan. So the actual time in Kazakhstan right now is 8:42. So if they started at the usual time, yeah, it would have been like 10:45. So yeah, that's why they're doing it. But then you could be like, well, can you have just done this? I get it. It's kind of a bit frustrating and awkward. Thankfully, Kara and Mati will play Arsenal at the Emirates, and we're not going to be, you know, having these really early games in the UK, but it is what it is. El Kabi, huge differential captain for me. Wow. That's very interesting. People also talk about Aubameyang. A lot of forwards being discussed. I think there are more options up front compared to the midfield, arguably. And certainly the defensive line. I wasn't that, you know, convinced about the defenders this week, which is why I didn't buy Van de Ven. So Kane did win this poll, 73%. I'm going to end it now. I appreciate those that voted. Keep on dropping a like, subscribing, all that good stuff. And yeah, I've been going live for the past 2 hours and almost a half, actually. H Army says, I did Rashford and Dumfries to Alvarez and Batcher on one page, thought I was on the same, and did Mbappe to Haaland, and that's the only one that worked. Yeah, that's very frustrating. That's why having multiple pages can also backfire. I usually have that, so I can show you limitless squads, wildcards, and also show you different transfer ideas for my team. But yeah, there is that element where if you do transfers on one page and then one on the other, it can go wrong. I noticed it as well today when I captained Harry Kane in one page, but then when I made transfers in the other, when it finalized and the transfers went through, my captain was still Haaland. So it was important to make sure everything was done. And sometimes reloading the page is also quite useful, so it ensures that everything is completed. Lucas Dunn says, hi mate, I sold Gabriel and Dumfries for Koundé and Upamecano. I wasn't aware about Mbappe being injured, but at least I have him in matchday 7. I captain Kane and 2k overall rank. Yeah, that's the good thing about keeping Mbappe, and there is still a chance, albeit very small, that he plays against Man City tomorrow. But yeah, Gabriel and Dumfries should be back for matchday 7, but ultimately a lot of things will change between now and the end of January, where we have matchday 7 and 8 within a week of each other. So yeah, with Mbappe, it's a bombshell that kind of, you know, happened this morning, and we had to react to it accordingly. I'm unsure if a hit to sell Mbappe was worth it anyway. I think in certain situations it could be, like to Harry Kane, who you've already got. Garassi possibly, which is what I've done, but only time will tell. I missed the deadline, oops. I don't really blame you. I tried to make a big point of it in my videos yesterday that we have an early deadline today, but yeah, it can be difficult to keep track of such an early deadline. Wolves will beat everyone to target. They're so bad, they could be worse than Derby. Well, yeah, they are on course to being the worst side in Premier League history. You know, 2 points from 15 matches is incredibly bad, but I said this before, I had major concerns about Wolves, but I didn't expect them to be this bad, so it's even worse than I anticipated. I've already made 2 free transfers in FPL, selling Xhaka and Mateta to Foden and Jimenez, planning to bench boost in 17, and should I free hit in 18 or 19? Well, I'll be honest with you, Cylindra, I don't know your team off the top of my head, so I can't really tell you if you should free hit in 18 or 19, but I think, generally speaking, and also relating it to maybe my situation before wildcarding, I probably would say 18, but that is team dependent. Yeah, predict 6, I'll go to it now. So it's still 0-0, by the way, between Kara Almaty and Olympiacos. So 2-0 Bayern Munich for me, Inter 2, Liverpool 1, Monaco 1, Galatasaray 1. That's something that could change. Villarreal 2, Copenhagen 1, Real Madrid 2, Man City 2, and Club Brugge 0, Arsenal 2. Those are my scoreline predictions for Predict 6. Do you think it was right to play and keep Kalinoglu? Well, the fixtures are bad, but he's on penalties. He's a bit of a jack of all trades, and he's going to start. You know you're going to get that from him. So with the lack of alternatives at a similar price point that are like genuine standouts, I think it makes sense. Will Mastantuono play for Real Madrid? I'm not sure, is the honest answer. So in this predicted 11 that I see here, well, no, he's not in it. But then again, Mbappe was, and that is going to change now. So let's see. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think he will. I don't think Mastantuono will start against Man City. You like Voltemada and Ndai to Bruno and Raul in FPL? Yes, I do. And in fact, I'm bringing in Raul potentially on the wild card. Bruno's already in there. And as much as I like Voltemada, yeah, I think Raul Jimenez is a nice alternative at a cheaper price point. In Die, I wish I kept him for Matchday or Game Week 15, but I didn't do so in the end. Yeah, exactly. Sell African players or those featuring in the African Cup of Nations. So between Game Week 16 and 17, that's what the 5 free transfers are there for. Also sold Mbappe for a -4. Let's hope Guirassy scores a lot. Yes, but I don't have a great history with him. Usually he hauls when I don't have him, and when I buy him, he's a bit disappointing. So just giving you a heads up. Just location and weather's a reason for the early kickoff. Yeah, it's a shame though. I'll be honest. Thanks, Dylan. Like always, al final me has convencido de no hacer un -8. Mis cambios finales han sido Kylian, Saka, Dumfries out, Kane, Rafinha, Pacho in. Es posible que Saka juegue, y ojalá que sí, en mi caso, pero tiene sentido lo que hiciste. Y me gusta mucho Rafinha para la jornada 6. I clean up my 2 injury flags to be a good manager, and then see that I have Salah and his fear of flying. Another sigh. Yeah, he got left out, unfortunately. So, yeah, with all the saga that's unfolded between him and Slot and the club in general, it might be a point of no return. So, yeah, things can change so quickly in football. And, yeah, UCL Fantasy, in the end, looking at it in hindsight, I think Matchday 2 wildcard has worked very well for me, but the problem has been limitlessing. So if I had just used my 2 free transfers and sold Dumfries and Gabriel last week, I would have got like 80 plus points, and I would also have the limitless to use now. That would have been much better, but it is what it is, right? Holy Clouds just went back and forth like a million times about my front line. It was Guirassy, Alvarez, Aubameyang, then went on to my one Kane, Aubameyang, Guirassy. That's what I mean. One can show you something different to the other. Christian says it's the Club World Cup all over again. Yeah, but at least with this one, it's because of the schedule, right? With FIFA, they literally locked the deadline in early and then pretended it never happened. Their kind of approach to it was like, we're not even going to acknowledge what went wrong. And the deadline was literally different for every single other match day. So it is what it is. Kaira in Kazakhstan, where early kickoff now, potentially with time zones make it earlier than expected. Well, yeah, that's what I explained to you earlier. And, you know, I was aware of this for a few weeks, actually. And some UCL Fantasy viewers brought this to my attention as well. Because, yeah, I did forget about this for a little while until a few weeks ago. Nahal puts his team: Rulli, Chevalier, Van de Ven, Bacha, O'Reilly, Gusto, Benzabani, Yamal, Rafinha, Yildiz, Arda Güler, Paxal, Kane, Haaland, Osimhen. Yeah, apart from Chevalier, who's out, and Arda Güler, who I'm not entirely convinced about, the rest looks very solid on paper. Thoughts on the Salah issue? You think he starts on Saturday? No, I don't think he starts. And what Carragher said on live TV yesterday regarding Salah was a bit funny, plus we rival fans are enjoying seeing this. Yeah, I discussed the Salah situation in FPL content, and basically the same thing. I understand where he's coming from, but the way he did it was not right, and it puts Liverpool and Arne Slot under more pressure, and it just causes a rift, so he's not helping anyone with what he did. Predict 6, yep, you can see that on screen. Maybe I'll change some of them, like Galatasaray 2-1. I might even give Man City a win here, like 3-2. But I think the rest will stay largely the same. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. How long was the microphone issue happening? But I'll have a look now. So yeah, if you haven't done so already, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. I appreciate all the support. Let's get this video to as many likes as possible, and check all the links in the description. There is my Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and yeah, there are many other links like my Discord server. You can become a patron or channel member as well. So give me a second whilst I fix this, then I'll answer a few more questions, and we'll have a relaxed end to this deadline stream, the last one and the last piece of UCL Fantasy content for the calendar year. Okay, so we are back. Hopefully that has sorted out the issues. Let me know in the live chat. And it is still goalless between Kara Almaty and Olympiacos. UCL is just better. Haaland captain has lost me 70 points, and I even got triple captain on him right. Yeah, captaincy can lead to huge swings there. with UCL Fantasy, of course, you can captain one player per day. In Matchday 1, we had 3 opportunities on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But yeah, I do like that element of it where you can go for something a bit different. It kind of encourages you to go for a bit different, in my opinion, in terms of, you know, captaining a differential, because you can then fall back on a more template pick if needed. With FPL, it's kind of make or break every single week. No subs in FPL just makes it boring. Haaland every week. Yeah, when you have a player who stands out above the rest, like Salah last season and Haaland now, it can make the game seem a bit boring, or yeah, just a little bit like something's missing. Got Kane and Aggun for Mbappe, Politano, -4. Kept Mendes. Looks solid in my opinion. Aggun, though, is a doubt. I don't think he's going to start for Galatasaray. Hey Charmy says, oh well, it's only a game. I'm sure Alvarez Hall will get me down, but have to remember it's just a game. Have a good evening. Well, to be honest though, PSV are in great form. They're unbeaten in like 13, 14 matches. They've won the vast majority of them. And yeah, they're looking very good. I think they could beat Atletico or get a win. I didn't really watch F1, to be honest, and yeah, look, it is what it is, right? I don't think Lando Norris is a great driver, to be honest. I think Verstappen is far better, but it is what it is, right? McLaren has the better car, and they won. So I think Piastri is better than Norris as well, from my perspective. But yeah, I mean, he won. Fair play to him. Obviously, the sort of swap they did between Norris and Piastri is what eventually resulted in him winning the championship. I'll leave you to, you know, have your own opinions as well. Are you considering Saka captain over Haaland? No, it will be Garassi tomorrow. I'm not going to captain Haaland. And in FPL as well, I might go for something different, if you will. I don't think I'm going to go for Haaland. Why Kane captain over Lamine? I also went Kane, but just curious. I just think Kane is one of the most likely to score, despite facing Sporting. And yeah, Yamal was definitely a consideration for me, but in my top 10 captaincy list, which I made quite early on, I had both Kane and Garassi as my top 2, and I'm sticking to that, really. You can provide us with the best wildcard for this Fantasy Premier League game week. I'm not going to do that now, because it's worth thinking about that more in detail, and, you know, I can name players, you know, off the top of my head and stuff, but I'd rather do more analysis, you know, delve into the stats, and then talk about my picks in more detail in the video. So expect that to happen in the next day or so. You'll get the best wildcard squad, and in my team selection, the wildcard's active, so you're also going to see different, you know, players and picks compared to the best wildcard squad, to at least give you some different ideas. Just joined, are you aware about your mic noises? Well, yeah, I am now, mate. A few people have said it, but hopefully now it's better. So yeah, I did all I could to fix them, so let me know. Salah last time in FPL? Possibly. If Mastantuano does not play, only have Haaland on the bench. Yeah, a lot of us will have a precarious situation when it comes to rotation. We just have to hope for the best today. Me ha sorprendido los 5 transfers para esta jornada en FPL. Si se consumen 2 de los 5, se mantiene el resto para la siguiente jornada. Si usas 2 transferencias, tendrías 3, obviamente, y después para la próxima jornada tendrías 4. Así sería. Pero hicieron esto esta temporada por AFCON, porque muchos jugadores van a jugar para sus países, y lo hicieron eso para mantener a muchos activos en Fantasy Premier League. Raul or Wilson? Raul. Who to sell? Mbumo, Munoz, Mateta, advice. Sorry, Aduzzi. Well, all of them, except Mateta. I mean, I do say that a bit tongue-in-cheek. Munoz could still be available against Man City, and I was thinking of benching him either way. So my current plan is to include Munoz on the wild card. Gay could be a good replacement for him, but yeah, essentially it would be Mbumo and Aduzzi to kind of sell. It is a difficult one because I don't know the rest of your squad. With Mbumo, we don't know if he's going to play in Game Week 16 yet for sure, and if he doesn't, he'd be the first one I'd sell. If the Merseyside derby was played now, what's your prediction? It depends as well on the stadium it's played at, but I think Everton will win at home. Thanks for your efforts, Dylan. Please like and subscribe, everyone. Thank you, Johnny. Cylindra says, this is my team. Would you free hit in Game Week 18 or 19? I think Game Week 18. And once again, the best advice I can give to people who are still like determining when to free hit or bench boost, go to FPL.team and these websites where you can visualize future game weeks and compare the fixtures. That's the best thing you can do, but I would lean towards Game Week 18. Hi, Dylan, thoughts on the World Cup draw and your 4 teams to reach the semi-finals? I haven't fully delved into like the paths, so I think Argentina could play Portugal if they both finish top and stuff, so I haven't done like predictions and stuff, so I can really determine this sort of thing, but I think Argentina, Spain, France, and maybe England, that would be like 4 of the favourites to go through to the semi-finals. But in terms of the draw, I think it was quite underwhelming for me personally. I think there were many weak groups and some of the top teams maybe got away with it. The best group is arguably France's with Norway and Senegal, but I think the rest are quite underwhelming. If Salah leaves the Premier League, will FPL remove him from the game? He'll just be red flagged. They will say that he's left the club. Twisted Parky says, I'm with Salah on this one. Fair enough. That's an interesting view. Taking a punt on Malero, the next 2, Copenhagen and Ajax at home, 2 of the worst teams. That's a good shout, and that's why some people would have gone for El Kabi to target Kara Almaty now, and also Ajax in Matchday 8. This will be an interesting matchday, definitely, and it can be very swingy. If I'm a manager, I will bench you if you're not performing, even if you're a star in the team. Well, that's the way it should be, right? It's not based on reputation or, you know, the sort of like the dynamics of the dressing room, because Salah will have so much respect. Even Alisson, for example, has publicly said that what he did was wrong, essentially. But yeah, that's the way it should be. It's based on performances. As a Liverpool supporter, it is really a tricky situation for the club. Slot and Salah both will go, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's a real possibility. Who will go first? Well, depends on the results, because if Liverpool lose the next couple, then there could be a new manager in place by the new year. But yeah, at the moment, it looks like Salah's more likely to go first. Salah in January and Slot as soon as we have a replacement in the market. It's crazy, right? Because last year, Salah was, you know, a Ballon d'Or contender. Arne Slot was getting so much praise. He took over Jurgen Klopp's team with minimal investment, you know, you're not spending any money. Basically just getting Chiesa, who barely played, and reaching a Carabao Cup final, winning the Premier League. But things change very quickly in football. Yeah, Salah to Saudi is a real possibility, but I'm sure European clubs will still be interested. I'm up 3 million after 4 good finishes, says Twisted Parky. Still early days, but I definitely, you know, understand your frustration. It's not ideal when you're struggling and, you know, you're doing much worse compared to previous seasons. Burn, Munoz, Virgil, Rodon, Ballard, Saka, Mbumo, Minter, Bruno Guimaraes, Dewsbury Hall, Voltemada, Haaland, Thiago. Who to play in Game Week 16? Any transfers recommended? Well, I would play Burn, Munoz, and Virgil from the defenders you have. I'm not sure which goalkeepers you've got. Maybe Raya's one of them, but I would still go for an Arsenal defender if you can. With the midfield, yeah, I think Mbumo to Fernandes looks very solid. You could do something like Voltemada to Jimenez, and then Mbumo to Fernandes, and maybe Minter could be upgraded to Foden if you have enough money, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. Thought the news of Mo Salah was just rumours until I saw it on Sky Sports, then I knew Liverpool are screwed. Yeah, I mean, they've had a horrible season. This was the last thing they needed, but I found it very surprising for him to be benched in so many consecutive games. I think 100% he'll go to Saudi, says Easy. Bro, El Kabi is so close to AC. To scoring, yeah. I was going to say AC. 4 million rank currently. Even when I was a casual player, says Nahal. Yeah, look, rank is all well and good, right? But the most important thing is to enjoy playing the game. And ultimately, when you do well, you're going to enjoy it more. But yeah, you remember the kind of bad things, you know, the things that went wrong. You can laugh about it afterwards. So yeah, it just depends. But with FPL and UCL Fantasy, the most important thing is to have fun. And, you know, I've got a good ranker stream both, particularly in UCL Fantasy. But yeah, it's not like why I started making content or, you know, started playing in the first place, despite how competitive I can be. Triple captain Haaland in Game Week 13 blanks, Bruno captain in 14 blank, Haaland captain in 15 blank, having the worst FPL season in 15 years of playing the game. That's very frustrating, and they were all good decisions on paper, so I completely get it. I found myself that when I change the captaincy constantly from one player to the other, usually it goes wrong. So I've had similar situations to that. Not this season per se, but yeah, it's definitely a possibility. So I'm gutted for you, and hopefully you can get some more luck with the captaincy and transfers moving forward. Hello, currently 2K rank. I played the wild card. Gabriel, Dumfries, Hakimi, Mbappe, Housen to Kalulu, Van der Ven, DeMarco, Garassi, Upamecano. I did it 2 minutes to deadline. I benched Upamecano. Captain is Osimhen. Yeah, that's not ideal, and ultimately that would be a waste of a transfer because Gabriel will be back by match day 7. But good captaincy choice, good transfers overall, and great rank. But yeah, I also do late transfers sometimes for a combination of reasons, mainly overthinking and also trying to get as much information as possible to then make an informed decision. Also to prevent people copying in some cases, which obviously it doesn't always happen. But yeah, unfortunately, some people will just copy every move. They're good transfers, but for everyone, I always say, don't follow my example. Try to do transfers as early as you can. But I do recommend kind of waiting until the deadline stream. So maybe an hour before the deadline and the first kickoff, that's the best time to do so. Solving questions in every language is goated. It's only 2 languages, but you know it's better than 1 or 0, or just not answering questions at all. I got the wildcard, bench boost, and triple captain left, 1.1 million rank. What should I do? Is utilizing those 5 free transfers down the line, like Gemic 18 for setup, bench boost, a bad move? Plan is to triple captain Haaland in Gemic 17, hold wildcard until 19 or else. There are many different ways you can approach this, but I think Gemic 17 triple captain on Haaland looks very enticing still against West Ham. I would probably... Yeah, I get your point. Usually when you bench boost, it is optimized even more when you just wildcard, but I think the best thing for you to do is possibly wildcard in 18 and bench boost in 19. You don't need to like rush and use your transfers. So if you got 5 this week, you can use 1 or 2 of them, bolster your team for 16 and 17. Yeah, that's the thing. That is a good question. Maybe the hyperfixation on Haaland triple captain in 17 is a bit of a problem because that could also cause some issues. Ideally, what you would do is wildcard and still keep your 5 free transfers after wildcarding, which is what I'm doing this week. So my advice is to wildcard now, triple captain 17, bench boost in 18, and then you can still keep the majority of those free transfers. That's the way I would go about it. That's, I think, without knowing the context for your team, which could maybe change something a little bit, I think generally speaking, that is the way you should go about it. Well, you can't transfer any players because the deadline's gone, mate. There's a game happening right now between Kara Almaty Olympiacos, which is 0-0. I've said this in all my content yesterday in the triple upload. We have an early deadline today, which is why I started the stream at 1 PM in the UK. Yeah, mate, hoping things change in the second half of the season. If I can be better than 500k, I will take it in. Yeah, that would be a good rank. I mean, it's getting more difficult to get top 100k, top 10k, but it's also exciting and, you know, challenging. But there are times where FPL can be very, very frustrating. El Cabi, come on, lol. Yeah, not so good at the moment, but things can change in the blink of an eye. It's the whole team trying to bet on something else to recoup losses of last season for me was 60k, season before 26. Yeah, those are great ranks, in my opinion. Selling Dan Ndoye, which player to buy? I have 3 million. Well, Foden is not someone I'd really buy now. He's been in fantastic form, and on the wildcard I'd keep him, but he's not someone I'd be going out of my way to purchase at the moment. Declan Rice, of course, is an injury doubt. He didn't train for Arsenal. He probably won't play against Club Brugge. So that's a difficult one. Ideally it's Fernandes, but you would be 0.3 short or 0.4. So it's probably still Foden for me by default, but Crystal Palace won't be easy. Thank you, Omara. Good luck, Dylan. Your tips really helped me to move from 17k to 2k last match day. Yeah, it's a good team. You've got Greenwood in there. And a solid squad overall. A few differentials like Vanaken, who hopefully blanks, just saying. Ellis Coyle says, my team this week, Kelleher, Munoz, Collins, Timber, Saka captain, Bruno, Minter, Anderson, Foden, Haaland, Thiago. Yeah, I think going against Haaland this week could work, not just with Saka, but also Thiago as a captaincy choice. Hi, I missed the deadline. What is the best time to use wildcard? Yeah, this would have been a good time to use it for a lot of people, but I don't mind Matchday 8 still, where you can essentially turn the wildcard into a limitless by cheaping out your bench and investing all your money into the starting 11. But it depends on how we get to, you know, Matchday 7 in January, because those 2 game weeks will take place within a week of each other. So Yeah, I think Matchday 7 wildcard looks very enticing still. And for Matchday 8, you only need a starting 11. You don't need a full 15-man squad. Same here, I've been winning my money leagues consistently. This year I've fallen behind the pack. Yeah, it can be quite hard to adjust when you're usually winning these leagues and now you aren't, but it's still early in the season. We're not even at the halfway stage yet. Argentina-Portugal quarterfinals if both win their group. Yeah, it probably will happen. For me, they are hanging Salah out to dry like the crap form is all his fault. Look at the defense, Van Dijk performing badly but surrounded by rubbish. Yeah, I get that. I mean, Salah has experienced a massive drop-off though. And even last season, he had bad performances but still got the goals and assists. But yeah, it's just a fall from grace. And also it's on Arne Slot to find solutions. And Liverpool, it's not like they've been winning the games. They are unbeaten since Salah was benched, but they've only won one of them. Steven Gerrard rumoured to be the interim manager if Slot is fired. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. So Arne Slot, Xabi Alonso fired and go to Liverpool. Zidane to Madrid short term. It's written in the stars. Maybe. I mean, it sounds very fantasy-like, if you will. There could be a few different managers in the equation there, and Zidane might be waiting for the France job. Take care and good night, Dylan. Catch up with you on Saturday during the FPL deadline stream. That's the plan, and it will be a later deadline there for Saturday at 1:30 p.m. in the UK, so 2 hours 30 minutes later than usual. Could this be the worst performance from league defending champions? Well, we saw Chelsea, right, in 2015-16. Leicester as well, to a certain extent. There are quite a few examples, so this is definitely up there. And when you factor in the hype, the transfer window, it might be the worst of them all. Hi Dylan, how are you doing? This last match day was a nightmare. Same here. It was very disappointing for me, and if I had just used 2 free transfers and saved the limitless for now, I would be in a better position, but these things can happen, right? I also had a bit of bad luck with the Man City rotation for them to do that. They ended up losing. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure if Pep could go back, he would have changed things a little bit. Peace out, guys. Let me step out. Have a blessed week. Good luck to everyone on this match day. Anytime I tune in, I usually score high in UCL Fantasy. Bye. Well, that's a great advertisement for the channel. And yeah, hopefully you get another green arrow. If I would take a hit of -8, if I were to get Pacho in for... Sorry, I don't understand the first part. So, Pacho in for Nuno, Malo Gusto for Dumfries, Lamine for Fermin Lopez, and Kane for Haaland. Unless I leave Fermin in, it'll be -4. What would you suggest? The deadline's done, mate. So, if you make these transfers now, you're doing them for Matchday 7, which takes place in late January. So, the best thing I can say at this point is just don't make any moves. And you've got what you've got. Normally, the deadline's at 5:45 p.m. in the UK. And I would basically be in the middle of my live stream now. But yeah, the deadline this week was at 3:30 p.m. in the UK, so it went by 40 minutes ago. Kara and Mati are playing against Olympiacos. We can talk about some of these ideas in Matchday 7 in a couple of weeks, but it doesn't make sense to do that now because the deadline has passed. Yeah, no worries to Stepaki. I appreciate you tuning in. I can't believe I got triple captain right versus Burnley. My rival got it wrong versus Leeds, but going against Haaland still leaving me 100 points behind. He has crazy luck this season. Yeah, luck can swing, in your favor and then go to the other person, and yeah, sometimes you'll have someone in your mini league who is just, getting things right consistently and, good decision making, also some luck, a combination of both. But yeah, all we can do is improve our decision making process and give ourselves a better chance of getting lucky. But yeah, it can be very frustrating. I understand why you feel that way. Yeah, I get that easy. It's a big time difference there. Well, 5 hours ahead of the UK anyway. Good luck, Dylan. Your tips really helped me. Thank you very much. I went through that. I just realised Mati playing before everyone else. I don't have captain for today. Yeah, I tried to make this a big point in my content yesterday in the triple upload. Yeah, Mbappe is in doubt. That was one of my biggest talking points from the beginning of the stream. I don't think he'll play. L'Equipe are saying it's very unlikely he will. And yeah, different sources are indicating that Mbappe is a major doubt. Yeah, good luck as well, Nahal. And yeah, get back to work, enjoy it if you can, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Will Mo Salah going away destroy Liverpool completely? Not necessarily. I mean, they're already in a terrible position anyway, but yeah, if you said this at the beginning of the season, after Liverpool had won 5 out of 5 games, they signed Isak and Wirtz, and they just won the league. Salah had a Ballon d'Or-esque season. Yeah, it's difficult to believe, right? But these things can happen. Football is a funny game. I don't think it would destroy Liverpool completely, though. Do we need to start kicking out players that have qualified next week? Possibly, and that's where the wildcard can be very useful. I wish I still had it, but yeah, the Limitless, for example, Matchday 6 and 7, great times to use it. I wouldn't use it in 8, but that's where I think using the wildcard to cover 7 and 8 overall is the best way to go about it. Yeah, woke up late, says Omara. Miguel says, as a Portuguese man, I believe we have one of the best teams or even the best team in the world at the moment, but Roberto Martinez's tactics are so bad. Yeah, conversely with Argentina, who I've supported all my life, Scaloni has made the difference in many finals and he's got good tactics in general. But yeah, I think Portugal have one of the best squads on paper. I wouldn't say they're definitively the best. I think over the past 5-6 years, it's been Argentina. And maybe recently, I think Spain have been the best team overall. But that can change. International football is so volatile, but Portugal certainly have a top 5 squad. There's no denying that. And I agree that Roberto Martinez might be the thing that cost Portugal in the end. And you could say the same thing about the previous manager, but at least he won the Euros, right? What's your plans for the game week in FPL? I wildcarded, and that will be talked about in my team selection video. You'll also see a transfer tips and best wildcard squad in the coming days. Mo Salah will go to Piers Morgan after this. Well, he's not Ronaldo, is he? Will you go to the World Cup physically? Probably not. Cabby, Mr. Sitter. Yes, and it's still 0-0. It's about to be half-time. The World Cup price is completely like VIP level price. No surprises there. For the Club World Cup, they noticed there was like not a good turnout, so they decreased the prices quite significantly, but probably a little bit too late. Who do you think are the dark horses for the World Cup next year? I think Norway could be one. I don't think they'll win it, but they could go quite far. Dark horses. Yeah, difficult to say. I mean, yeah, I think Norway would be the standout, the one that springs to mind for me. Not many people would want to play against Norway, and France might struggle a little bit in their group. But thank you, everyone. It has been a blast talking to you for almost 3 hours. I mean, normally my streams are this long for UCL Fantasy. Yeah, if you got any more questions or comments, let me know. And yeah, within the next 10 minutes or so, we'll be wrapping up. And I've covered everything that you need to know with, all these injury updates, predicted lineups, team news, suspensions, also my final transfers, updated wildcard and limitless squads. You had everything here in one package, top 10 captains, clean sheet and goal scorer probabilities. So you have the full picture for Matchday 6 and beyond. Even some FPL questions have been answered over the last couple of days. Yeah, days, I should say hours. Japan, yeah, that could be a shout. I'm happy for my favourite Spain group. Yeah, Spain have a good group as well, or easy group, let's say. I think a lot of them are quite accessible for the top teams, and it's kind of built for them to face each other in the knockouts. Mo Salah just got the same treatment as Ronaldo. That made me feel so bad. Like I said, I understand his point of view, but there is a way to go about things, and he's only putting the club and Arne Slot under more pressure. So I understand both sides, but yeah, how Liverpool have reacted doesn't surprise me completely, but no one expected this at the beginning of the season, myself included. It's really kind of funny in the USA group. Aussies think they will easily beat USA and top it. USA think vice versa, but who knows? Paraguay and probably Turkey could make it through. Yeah, that's a balanced group on paper. And Paraguay, since Gustavo Alfaro took over, as much as he's a vende humo, so basically he's a bullshitter, he has done a good job at Paraguay. And yeah, they've been very solid. They've beaten Argentina and Brazil. They're very difficult to score against. So they'll draw a lot of games, Paraguay. They'll struggle to score goals themselves, but defensively, they're so solid. And yeah, they're very defensive. So they could be a surprise package as well. But if someone asked me dark horse, Japan's a good shout, even Paraguay, but I'm going to say Norway. That's probably going to be the hipsters sort of pick as well. A lot of people pick out Norway as the dark horses. They've got Odegaard and Haaland, and they've shown a bit of consistency in the qualifiers. They've been very impressive there. So yeah, I think Norway are now getting a bit of a different perception. They've always missed the last couple of World Cups, but with the quality they have now, yeah, they had to make this one. They did, and now they're in a good position. So thank you everyone for tuning in for the past 3 hours. If you haven't done so already, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also share, hype, all that good stuff. Your support is massively appreciated. The same goes for super chatters, patrons, members, those that gifted memberships as well. All of your contributions go a long way to boosting us up overall. You can follow me on Twitter Instagram Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. There's my Reddit, Discord server. A lot of them are found in description. There's also my Patreon and the Championships. Furlax to my videos, proud to add comments, amongst many other perks. And yeah, just keep on, going with the discussion for UCL Fantasy and FPL. Join my UCL Fantasy League, which has over 5,000 members. My dark horses were Senegal, but they got put in a tough group, so they need to be on form from the get-go, which is hard. Yeah, Senegal have a decent team. They also beat England in a friendly back in June, so yeah, I think that could be a decent shout. That's why that group stands out to me as probably the best on paper. It'll be a struggle between Norway and Senegal for second, you would argue, but would it surprise me completely if Norway finished top? No, I don't think so. And France might struggle a little bit to get out of it, but you would still expect them to do so. I hope there'll be a fantasy for the World Cup. There should be. I covered the last one on my channel, and it was a bit of a lucky charm with Argentina winning it, but yeah. With Euros as well, I covered the last two tournaments on my channel, Euro 2020 and 2024, and the World Cup is the same. They're almost certainly going to do it. They did it for the Club World Cup Fantasy in the summer as well, despite the hiccups that FIFA had, which we won't talk about too much here, but there will be a fantasy for World Cup, that's for sure. They also did it for Russia in 2018, so yeah, it would be a huge shock if they didn't. So just expect one to happen. They'll probably release the game in like late May, and yeah, try to drive engagement and traffic for the weeks leading up to the World Cup starting. So have to check the schedule as well and see how things are looking like. But yeah, I think it's going to be a May start there for World Cup Fantasy. So thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. I wish you all the best of luck for Matchday 6 and the rest of the tournament. There is a big break now for UCL Fantasy, and in a couple of weeks' time, Matchday 7 will return towards the end of January. And to conclude the league phase, of course, Matchday 8 will also be a thing. Then we get the knockout playoff rounds in February. You can get a full breakdown of how each single round works with transfers, boosters, etc. in my chip strategy guide, and how to play UCL Fantasy video with the new format included as well since the beginning of last season. And there will be FPL content to come for Game Week 16, the best wildcard squad, the transfer tips where I highlight 11 players, possibly even more, to buy, hold, sell, and skip. Sometimes there'll be players out to the watch list, 1 week punts, and stuff like that. And also my team selection where the wildcard is activated. It's done and dusted. I can't revert it, and I think it's the best course of action for my team. I also get 5 free transfers, of course, to use from Game Week 17 onwards. And the next deadline stream will be on Saturday for Fantasy Premier League, and the deadline's at 1:30 p.m. in the UK. Omara says, Dylan, I made 5 free transfers on wildcard. I did not want to take hits at all. You made 5 free transfers on the wildcard. Yeah, I get that. You don't want to take hits. And my advice for people in FPL is not to use up all the 5 free transfers at once. And if you have the wildcard, use it now and keep the 5 free moves for later in the season, essentially. And you can be in a very strong position over the Christmas period. Hopefully World Cup Fantasy is not like the Club World Cup deadline prank. Well, the World Cup had its faults as well. But it was a fun fantasy game, and we didn't get any of that shenanigans with the deadline. So hopefully they learned from what happened in Matchday 1 of the Club World Cup, and we don't see that happen ever again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this UCL Fantasy Deadline stream. Take care, enjoy the football. I'll see you on Saturday for the next FPL Deadline stream, and keep your eyes peeled for Game Week 16 content.